Hello, everybody. Welcome to Two Broken Thumbs, the only show that isn't purchased by fandom.com yet.
Yet.
Yeah. Did you hear about that, by the way?
No. I don't
Fandom
know what that's
bought.
in reference to.
Fandom has bought GameSpot, Metacritic, TV Guide, Fanatical, Screen Junkies, GameFAQs, Giant Bomb, Cord Cutters, and Comic Vine.
Huh.
Like, Fandom has just bought all of the review companies.
I didn't realize that they had that much money.
Well, when you have a shit ton of ads on your pages that run at like 5 pages per second, like it's slow as fuck.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you're gonna make a lot of money.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Alright.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
I was legit surprised too. I was like, how the fuck did they make all that money? It's just a bunch of ads. But we aren't owned by them, so you know our reviews are gonna be factual and true.
That's right.
No
We also
paying
don't
off
run
here.
ads.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Do I have a surprise for you? That's right, our first ever ad. This stream is sponsored by Twitch. That's right.
Yay,
I do
Twitch.
Twitch now. I do Twitch
Yay.
Tuesdays and Thursdays. From
Because those days start with T, kind of like Twitch.
True. And they also combine to the tip to make a corner, like at the middle. You know, like the corners meeting, which is where you can find me as Cole's Corner on Twitch. Whoa, that's crazy.
Oh, I see how we arrived
Yeah,
there now.
yeah. Now you get it. I stream
Yeah.
10:30 to midnight, and then I play Kingdom Hearts on Saturday, which is definitely fun, and I don't hate it.
Hey, that's good.
Yeah, I like things.
Yay.
We
like liking things.
Yeah, and you know what? I want to be honest, James. I think we didn't like enough of Jurassic World.
Yeah, that's it.
We just didn't like it enough.
We should have tried harder to like it.
We really should have tried harder, but I don't feel like either of us want to talk about a real thinky movie, right?
I'm not sure why you say that after talking about Jurassic Park, but
Well, because
yeah,
it hurt to think about that movie.
Oh, I see. That wasn't thinking's fault though.
Wasn't thinking's fault, true.
Yeah.
They want us not to think, and by us actively thinking about that movie, we're like forcing ourselves to be like, wait, none of this makes any sense.
You are actively punished by that movie for thinking.
True. Every time you have a question, the movie's like, fuck you. We're moving on.
We won't be answering it, or we'll be making it worse.
Exactly. So, James, what are we talking about today then? What's our easy movie?
We're talking about a good movie.
Oh.
A good easy movie. It's from 2010 and it's animated.
It's 12 years ago. No, is that? Yeah, it's 12.
Yeah, good math.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Rising in popularity too, it seems.
Well, it seemed like it hit a peak 2 or 3 years ago. People started talking about it, which is good, I think.
Yeah, people were memeing the fuck out of it.
I watched a video about it, and I think I understand why now.
Schaefer Ellis?
But yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That was like the video that made him, right? It's got like 15 million views.
That and the Shrek review. Which one?
Probably 2.
I think it was Shrek 3. He was on Shrek 3. No, you're right. It was Shrek 2. It was Shrek 2 and Shark Tale really made him. That's what really made him pop off.
I gotcha.
Those are the big two ones.
So we do this every time. So the movie we're teasing about is Megamind.
Yes, Megamind, starring Will Ferrell, Jonah Hill, and Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Which, as someone who hasn't really seen a lot of Will Ferrell movies, it's still weird to hear his voice and like my brain attached this character to him, you know?
Yeah, I didn't realize at all, and I think his voice is pretty distinct and recognizable. So I don't know. I don't know what wasn't where the connection broke.
I think he was acting. I think that's what has happened. He was acting.
I think you're right.
I think they were acting.
It's wild, but I'm a fan of it. I like it when my actors do that.
That's true. I do too. I like it a lot more. I like it a lot more when I don't just see the character and then be like, oh, well, this is just this character. This is just Brad Pitt. Yeah, this is just Brad Pitt playing Brad Pitt. And wouldn't you know it, Brad Pitt's also in this movie as a voice actor. And he doesn't sound like himself.
Ah,
Crazy. It's so crazy to think about.
I guess both of them don't really sound like themselves that much.
No. The only one I would say is Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of like himself.
I agree.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
I want to point out that this is people have talked about Megamind in the same category as the first Iron Man and the Incredibles. Like I've seen posts. That's kind of like what got me to want to talk about this. And a friend of mine wanted to talk about Megamind. Those three people are claiming to be the best superhero movies ever made. I would agree with Incredibles, right? Are we on the same page that Incredibles is pretty fantastic?
There's a lot of superhero movies, so the word best is scary to get close to. But yeah, Incredibles is really, really good. The only Incredibles movie, of course.
Yeah, there's only one. There's only ever been one. Yeah. We're still waiting for that sequel.
Yeah. That, but honestly, if they don't give it to us, maybe that's not such a bad thing.
No, I think that might be for the best, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the director of this movie, I just had it up, Tom McGarth. I want to go over his filmography before we get into the film because I'm starting to. He had a bit of a drop in quality.
Oh no, I hate when that happens.
Well, to start, he made Madagascar, like the first one. He directed the first Madagascar.
I don't
actually
remember
directed all three. He directed all three Madagascars. There's three of them. Did you not know that?
Okay, so my initial thought was there's three, but then I had to decide, wait, did I think that there were more than that or less than that?
Well, there's also Penguins, the movie. It's just like a standalone movie that features just the Penguins, which he also, he was Skipper in that. He voiced a character in that.
Okay.
The point of this I was just trying to make is that his latest movie is Boss Baby 2: Family Business.
So I haven't seen either Boss Baby movie.
They aren't great.
I didn't want to assume, but if I must, I would guess probably not great.
No. Boss Baby 2's whole thing is like, oh, there's now a new baby, and now they've become their old ages again, and they have to stop this adult, and yada yada yada. It's really just like retreading old ground, but like the idea of it's supposed to be like, oh, we never talk anymore, and we're a strange family, and I miss talking to you, my brother, blah 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 blah. Like somehow they've aged, but they still act like children.
Wait.
Boss Baby 2.
Get into this. Is the baby like an adult who got turned back into a baby? Or
in Boss Baby 2, yes. Boss Baby 2, they are adults.
Okay, so in the first one,
they are just children.
I don't know the Boss Baby mythos.
Boss Baby. The only thing you know is that the kid asks the Boss Baby if he's the baby Jesus, and he says, "Yes, I am the baby Jesus." That's all you need to know. That's it.
Interesting.
Yes, I'm the baby
there's
Jesus.
A Jesus reference in our movie, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot. And I guess, Alec Baldwin, by the way, says that he's the baby Jesus, which I think is very funny. I think it's very funny that Alec Baldwin says that. Yes, so speaking of that, let's talk about the film.
All right.
Megamind begins as any superhero movie would begin, at the ending.
Especially one called... Oh, never mind.
It does the usual thing where it's just like, oh, well, I wonder how I ended up here. Well, why don't I take you all the way back?
Do we know who started that? Because it's like a meme now. Which is fine.
No.
Of course.
I don't know who started it. But I'm sure if we took the time and effort to look into it, who started the gimmick, I guess, of starting the film from the end? Like Quentin Tarantino, shut up.
It could be. I don't know.
I mean, he kind of did that with his movies. I still need to watch some of his movies, and by some I mean all of them. But I'll get to them eventually. I'll get to them eventually.
The
But yeah,
Two
so
Broken Thumbs Quentin arc coming up soon.
oh my god, that'd be such a fun arc. Um, but yeah, so it starts at the ending where Megamind's like falling to his death, and he brings up the fact he's just like, oh, well, let's start from the beginning. I was born on a planet that was blowing up, very similar like Superman, like playing on the trope of that. Um, and next door was another planet that was also blowing up. Um, and so they both get launched into space. And while his like little capsule is falling apart as it does so, the other baby's capsule is like in perfect condition. He's got like the little hat that you see at sports games where it's got like two drinks on it, and he's drinking from a straw. It's got like that, but with baby
Getting that
milk.
milk.
Yeah, which I think is it's very funny because it's just like that means that guy's mom had time to make milk bottles quickly
And
enough.
maybe it was in the fridge, you know.
Yeah, probably. It was probably in the fridge. You're right. You're right. All right, I'll give it to you. Um, and basically, what happens is Megamind's about to land like this beautiful like mansion home. Think of like the Penguin's house when he was born, um, but ends up getting hit straight to prison as a baby. And the prisoner's just like, "Can we keep the baby?" And they just get to keep the baby, which is very funny. This movie, by the way, honestly hilarious. Like every joke for me lands super well. I
Yeah, I was
really
really impressed consistently
mhm.
with the comedy.
There's like a couple bits I don't appreciate, but like the overall opening is just a great way of showing how the world works and what makes it so funny. Um,
Mhm.
from like the fact that like when basically Metro Man like is at the mansion and the dad just reading the newspaper and the wife's just like, "Oh my goodness, you got me a baby." He's like, "Oh yes, the best for you, dear." Like just not even realizing what she's saying and just like, "Ah yes, I made sure to get the greatest baby for you." It's
Of
it's
course.
just really fucking funny.
I saw it and I thought of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's literally what he says when the baby lands.
Yep.
And it's just like the writing is super good with just like establishing that whole thing. Um, and like they go to school together. They like he fucks up Metro Man, like fixes the problem. Everyone likes Metro Man, but nobody likes this blue nerd looking guy. And eventually it like begins their rivalry. Um, and he just gets sent back to prison forever. And he just grows up in prison, which is so
Pretty
fucked
much.
up. It's such it's just so weird that like that's just the events that unfolded. It's just like, oh yeah, he's just a baby that lives in prison and is now able to like create anything with his just ingenuity.
Yeah, it's it informs us on his character a bit.
Mm.
He's raised by all the prisoners, so they, teach him crime and robbery and everything is all good stuff, and the police are
Mm-hmm.
bad and that sort of
He's
thing.
bad.
Yeah, police bad, but like, before it was trendy. So
Yeah. Yeah, by the
we'll
way,
see.
another thing, I guess we could talk about this too real quick. For the film that came out in 2010, it is surprisingly like current, if that makes sense. Like the topics they touch on and talk about are like stuff we've been talking about this day, which I think is what made it popular, you know? Like not even just the Shea Frillis video, I'm just talking in general with the climate that everything is right now. The things that this movie says and statements that it makes really impacts our generation.
Yeah, I think I agree. What would you
Mhm.
should we save it or what would you cite for that?
I'll save it because I want to talk. Well, I guess we could talk. We'll save it because we're
Well,
about to get to it.
we can do theming later. Yeah, if you want to do
Yeah.
like a plotter review first and then
Well,
go
I
through
also had
the
a good example, and he's coming up here shortly.
Oh, perfect.
Because we get introduced to like a couple years pass, and the reporter Tina Fey, who plays
Roxanne.
Roxanne. That's it, Roxanne Ritchie. Roxanne Ritchie is like a reporter character. She's kind of like the Lois Lane or like another character along those lines.
She's
Got,
absolutely Lois Lane.
yeah, she her whole thing is that she's like a reporter who constantly is in danger and constantly gets kidnapped, yada yada yada. And her coworker is none other than well, his name's not Titan. What's the fuck's his name?
Hal.
That's right. Hal. It's not Hal Jordan, right?
Um, I don't know. It's
Hal
Hal.
Jordan's Hal Jordan's someone else. Hal Stewart. That's it.
Has to.
Hal Stewart's character in this is like incel, like baby man, like this is what I meant when I said like this is like something that we talk about a lot now. A lot of people talk about incels and stuff about how like, oh well, I want like I'm the nice guy, yada yada yada. And that wasn't really a.
Time we got representation, let me tell you.
It's about. It's true. It's true. Um, but like his whole thing is that he keeps trying to get with Roxanne Ritchie. Here you want here. Take over for a moment. I'm gonna pull something up
Oh,
real
okay.
quick. Like, do you talk about
Yeah,
Hal for a second?
so he works for her and he's her cameraman. And pretty much the whole time you can tell that like, he shows up, does his job as he should, and then he's trying to like get her to, hang out with him or like, go out with him. Clearly pursuing a romantic relationship, but
Mhm.
she's just not interested whatsoever, which makes a lot of sense because the dude is a bit creepy. But I guess like kind of fumbles his words, and I think
How do
oh
I?
god,
Sorry, how do I search on web pages? It's control something, right?
Control F.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
if you're looking for like a word or something. Yeah.
Thank you. Keep
Of
going. You're
course.
good.
Yeah, so and he kind of, yeah, as one does when he's not getting the girl. I guess his arc is sort of he's coping and decides the way that he would need to get her is by, being powerful like Metro Man. And that's sort of his drive for the beginning of the film, at least.
Hmm.
Hmm. I don't
Uh,
really. I don't want to move on to a different topic. What are you looking
Here we
for?
go. I'm looking for the script because I want to actually read off the lines he gives so we have like a better understanding.
Yeah, it's a good
Um,
idea.
so like for at the end of when she's talking about like the event that they're at, which is an event for Metro Man, it's like, oh, it's a Metro Man museum. It's a museum just meant for him for all the great things he's done. Um,
Oh yeah, the city loves Metro Man.
Mm,
What a guy.
So his first line of dialogue is, "Wow, okay, the stuff they make you read on air, that's unfreaking believable. It's crazy." And she immediately says, "Like, oh hey, I wrote that. I made that myself." And like he quickly tries to backpedal. Like what I was trying to say was, I can't believe that in our modern society that like actual art get on the news. And what I love is she says, "Nice save Hal." So she clearly knows what he wants. Like she's
Oh,
like fully aware of it, which is really nice. Like she's completely aware that he's like a complete self-centered douche who just wants to win her over. Um,
yep.
duh, duh, duh.
True.
And like
He
another, go ahead.
he makes an analogy in that conversation, right? That is weird and totally throws her off.
Yeah, I'm about to read that. Come on, it's time to get in the Metro Man Day spirit. What if we were Metro Man? Well, if I were Metro Man, Megamind wouldn't be kidnapping you all the time. That's the first thing. And I'd be watching you like a dingo watches a human baby.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. And like it's very clear early on that this guy is like gross. Like I think a kid could even understand. Even just like his appearance is very gross. Like I know everyone's making fun of Dream's appearance right now.
Wow, Gingers.
I
All
know
right.
everyone's making fun of Dream's experience or personal look. I'm making fun of Hal Stewart's look, okay? I'm clearly superior. Um but something that Pat pointed out when we watched this together was like all of his shirts are this exact same. Like it's the graphic tee with a circle on it and then something that says something on the shirt, like in the circle. Which I think is very funny to like notice now as you look through the photos.
Uh-huh.
But the point more
Yeah,
being is like,
I've seen
good.
it. You're right.
Yeah. The point more being is that like his sort of like design everything is to be very like gross, very short, very creepy esque. Um, and he just like gives off that air of like, oh well, I've been so nice to you this entire time. Why don't you want me? And there's a lot of people like that in our society currently. There's a lot of people like that.
Oh, yeah, it happens. He
And
could be caught with the fedora.
oh yeah, absolutely. Um, and it's weird that like they talked about this back in 2010 because I don't know if it's been like a thing forever or if it's just now becoming a thing. You know, I know like pickup artists and stuff were big back in the day, but now people kind of like make fun of them because. Ugh.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you watch Channel Five's video about that? By the way,
Um,
he went
that
to a. Go
was
ahead.
it. That guy who yeah, he's picked up like thousands of girls or whatever.
Yep, he's made out
And
with thousands of girls.
yeah, I didn't see that video, but I saw someone reacting to it, and yeah, that I I was shooketh. I did not know that was a thing.
Yeah, it's so good. It's such a good interview, and I'm
Yeah,
surprised it still happens.
watching him deal with it is pretty funny because I didn't
Hmm.
know that guy before then. Channel 5.
Oh yeah, no, I like his commentary and stuff. But anyways,
Yeah.
back to the point. Back to the point. So yeah, they're having this whole big Metro Man Day celebration, and while Hal is like talking about how much he loves her, like he's trying to like announce his love to her, she gets kidnapped by one of my favorite reoccurring bits, the invisible car. Uh, which like the idea of it is that you can't see it, but because you can't see it, everyone keeps running into it and getting hit by it.
Yeah.
So well, people will just be walking by on the street. I think that happens in this too. Like someone gets hit by the car and like the balloons fly away, and then they kidnap Roxanne Ritchie, and then drive away. And what's even better about the invisible car is that you can actually see it. Like you can see the outline of the invisible car, but no one in the show like realizes what it's happening.
Yeah, it's weird because there's a payoff at the end that relies on us seeing it from kind of far away. So I'm like,
Mm.
wait, this isn't. It's translucent, I guess, but
Yeah, but it's supposed to be like
or transparent. My bad.
commoners wouldn't see it. Like
You
Megamind,
wouldn't.
yeah,
It's like the Predator. Like you wouldn't expect to see it anywhere, but if you were looking for it,
yeah, yeah. If you're just like looking vaguely around, you're like, oh, I don't see anything out of the ordinary. But if you really stare at it,
oh yeah.
da, 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 da. But then yeah, so now we get introduced to Metro Man's character, and while you talked about Hal, I'll go ahead and take Metro Man. Um,
Ah,
do you want to talk about Metro Man? I
no,
feel like
no, no. You're good. No, no, no.
okay. So Metro Man's introduction is him literally breaking through a wall, like dancing and then juggling babies, like legitimately just juggling three children and then throwing them back to their mothers. Uh,
Hmm.
which is very like egotistical. The police are shooting their guns in the air, which is it's. I mean, when you live in a fucking town where like literal God is like flying around all the time, the police department probably doesn't need to really know how to use those weapons, you know?
I Fran's bullets aren't lasers. They come down.
Yeah,
They
that's
don't escape the atmosphere. Those
that's
aren't that
true.
good.
People are going to die because the police
Someone
are.
will get hurt.
It's so good. But yeah, he
Um,
like introduces himself. He's like this big suave. Think Markiplier. Well, obviously, yeah. Think Markiplier, but like with with like hair, like not dyed Markiplier. Think like current day Markiplier.
yeah,
And he's very
similar in
big, very like Markiplier and Elvis had a baby.
design.
Um, and he like
Yeah.
goes down. He starts talking to everybody, and like to point out like the Jesus cameo. He literally just walks on the water. He's like he's just walking on top of the water, like talking about how he feels. And while that's funny, what he actually says is very good. Let's get real for a moment. That's right. That's right. Although getting a whole museum is super cool, you know what the greatest honor you've given me is? Do you really want to know? I'll tell you. The greatest honor you've given me is letting me serve you. What I think is important is the past tense he uses here. The honor you've given me, like you have given it to me. Um, And even the question he says, like, well, I often ask myself, who would I be without you? I guess we can kind of get into this part. Like, Metro Man, I guess this is a spoiler, but it's a movie from fucking 12 years ago. If you haven't seen it,
Spoilers from now on.
yeah. Like, this is sort of pointing out the fact that he's tired of the hero business. Like, he doesn't want to do it anymore. And it is kind of set up here with, like, in the movie, it shows him being very, like, bleak, like, not smiling, which we've seen him do nothing but be happy, and kind of, like, realize something until one of the citizens just says, I love you, Metro Man. Um, it's interesting. It's interesting how they set that up super early without you really realizing it, and then when you go watch it again, you're like, oh yeah, there's that moment.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What I really like about it is I think it's pretty clear because, like you said, he snaps back into it when the guy yells, "We love you, Metro Man," because uh, like he hasn't made, I'll say, the decision yet,
Mm-hmm.
because we know he's still has yet to like, do his little walk around and like commit to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a nice little, you know,
Self reflection.
yeah,
Yeah, and
quick look into his true self.
he kind of gets back into character after that though, because he's like, oh, I got all these people I have to entertain. All these people are here to see me. I gotta put on a performance.
Right.
Uh, but at this point, we now come back to Megamind, who is currently has Miss Ritchie all kidnapped and tied up, and it's very clear by this scene that, like, she's just over it. She's used to every single trick he has, and, like, nothing he does is really, like, making her scared anymore. And he's just like, fuck it, we'll just move on. You're clearly not enjoying this as much as I am. Let's just do the next thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's you definitely get the vibe that like we've been doing this for a while. And he even says in the little intro monologue, he's like, "Oh yeah, we sometimes he beat me, sometimes I almost beat him." It's like this
Mhm.
has been a thing that's gone on for a while.
Yeah, they've been enemies for quite some time, which I
The
really
Mr.
like.
Krabs Plankton relationship.
Yeah, basically, we're watching the story from Plankton's perspective, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he basically, like, runs into, well, doesn't run, he sends a bunch of his minion bots to come in and, like, fuck the Metro Man Day thing. Um, and, like, immediately Roxanne's just like, hey, by the way, this is where we're at. Like, we're at the abandoned observatory. We're here now. We're just here. Um, which is
Yeah.
what Megamind wanted. Because the moment that he goes there, he's trapped. And
Right.
Megamind is going to use the Megamind's going to use the sun laser, which I'm pretty sure breaks several dozen laws. You can't just have a laser out in space, right? Isn't that a thing? I remember reading about that, right?
He's a bit of a lawbreaker himself, but
Oh yeah, no one would ever
I
notice that.
yeah, but it's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Big
Don't worry about
big space laser. We're
it.
meant to think is
it
uh is really effective.
yeah, it's very funny because then like he's charging the laser up, he's ready to use it, and then Minions is like, and it's charging, and he's like, what? Yep, it's charging the sun. So like,
Yeah,
but
there's definitely a lot of him having these big ideas and then like the execution always goes bad because I was immediately thinking like, oh, we probably should have been charging this up because he can get out of here really quickly, right? Like
mm-hmm.
he's speedy boy.
It'd be like telling Superman you only have 1 minute to fly around the world. He's gonna do it.
Right.
You really. Oh my god, we also missed the entire "You've fallen right into my trap. You can't trap justice" monologue. It was
Yeah,
so fucking good.
that joke is retroactively better
Mhm.
because I really I'll say enjoy the line in Justice League when Superman flies in and just says, "And I'm a big fan of justice," and then punches Steppenwolf.
Is that a line in that movie?
Oh yeah, yeah, in
What?
the Joss Whedon one. if you're asking why, it's because that movie's terrible. But
That's
you know,
so
for how
good.
dark and dour and terrible that Superman is, I'm happy to have it. There you go. There's your hot take.
Well, now we can have Black. You know, Black Adam can beat Superman, right? Black
I
Adam. Have you seen that with The Rock? He keeps posts.
I know the Rock wants to fight him. I don't.
The
My
Rock.
investment is near zero.
The Rock keeps just saying like, "I'm playing Black Adam," and you know, Black Adam can beat Superman because he punches match with magic, and everyone's just like, "Yeah, Rock."
Yep,
That's
that must be it.
that's exactly it, The Rock, and he keeps saying it like it's the only fact of like the like DC universe he knows, which is really funny to me. It's like the only thing he knows is that his character can beat Superman. Like, is that all they had to do to have him sign up for that movie?
I assume that's how it went. Yeah, it's like, did you know the character we want you to play can beat up Superman?
Vine
And he was
boom
like,
sound
oh,
effect.
all right,
Just the
why not?
Bwah. It's like you have my interest now.
Exactly.
But yeah, so they do that, and at this point, uh, the laser finally lands. After he explains, "Oh, copper is my weakness. Ah, copper makes me so
Oh yeah, this
powerless."
observatory I'm in
Yeah,
is laced with copper.
yeah.
And Megamind definitely has a mid of, really?
Even he's just like, "I've been fighting you for fucking years, and copper is your weakness."
It's like, how, really? Like,
They never had a moment where they're
I
fighting with a
never knew
giant
about.
penny.
Well, copper's kind of like a common thing, yeah. So you think he'd figure it out at some point, or like notice it?
Like
But
lead pipes
I
and stuff. Well, that's
right.
lead, but still, you know,
Well,
copper
copper
pipes.
pipes,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah, that's definitely a thing.
It's just so
But hey,
weird.
it's something that contrived. I guess a good script might account for it ahead of time.
You
So
know,
we'll see what happens.
you know what's even funnier? This movie takes place in Michigan. Um, so it's probably still lead pipes because they haven't been able to replace them yet. That's why.
Ah, I'm glad we're taking shots at Michigan now.
Legitimately, we were making. I was watching this movie in a Discord call like a year ago, and we were making jokes about the water being bad. That's why like we're talking about like, oh man, all the people here are super stupid. The water must be bad. And then we see the shot of the laser hitting Michigan, and we're like, oh fuck,
Oh no.
oh god, we made a mistake. But yeah, so that happens, and everyone's like, oh, is that it? Is he dead? Is he dead? And sure enough, he's dead.
Yeah,
Yeah, straight up,
big ol'
he's
just dead.
he's just dead. A skeleton remains, which I don't know why
Yeah.
no one thought about that. Of like, how is the skeleton still there? Should be
Hey,
just
bones are
ash.
really hard.
You're right, and he's he is Metro Man.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, they say right at the beginning one of his powers is invulnerability. So I was like, oh,
Oh yeah, you're
apparently
right.
not.
Yeah, he's definitely not that
But
invulnerable.
but hey, like this is new technology. It would seem like
Hmm.
he hasn't tried this before. Like if anything were to get him, the concentrated sun laser is probably the one.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Kamehameha can, in fact, kill Superman. We all know this.
of course.
Yeah. There's no need to
Yeah.
argue about that in the comments.
Yeah. No.
No, no, no,
It's
no,
all
no, no.
the argument's already over.
Yeah, we already agreed. It's over. Shake
We
my
did
hand.
it. Yep.
Shaked. All right, cool.
Yep.
Anyways, moving
Shook
on.
it.
Sh-
Moving on.
you don't know anything about Dragon Ball. Shut up.
But and I know that I'm outpaced here, so I will simply agree.
But yeah, at this point now, Megamind basically just gets control of the entire city. Because, like we established earlier, the police aren't exactly well equipped to deal with him, or anyone, to be honest.
Well, I they could have tried.
They did, and then he said, "Drop your weapons," and they're like, "Oh, well, okay, well."
Yeah, and then he just dances past them while
Yeah,
insulting their mothers or something. Like
I
it's just
do
so gross.
wonder if a bullet would kill Megamind.
That's what I was thinking too. Like a couple snipers, maybe wait a day or so, so it's he's not expecting it.
Yeah,
But
pull up Mike
and
Ehrman
I
trout.
don't. I figured they would just do some like Rick Sanchez level, like, oh, my defense
Uh,
that you can't see but is always up is caught that, so we're good, and
yeah,
that's
my
it.
impenetrable shield, like a fucking 5-year-old. I
Yeah.
have an impenetrable shield that nothing can go through. Man, 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 you can't touch me.
Oh yeah, well my OC has punches of magic, so I could kill you. I like it.
Thank you. uh,
Anyway,
but yeah, so Roxanne Ritchie brings up a great point. He asks if there are any questions. He's just like, so what now, huh? You win. What are you gonna do now, huh?
yeah, what are
You
you
have
gonna
the
do to us?
yeah, and he's just like, oh, think of the most evil thing and multiply it by 6, and I'll be back later.
Yeah, he's like, just do what you do normally, but
Hmm.
it's coming, baby.
Yeah, which I think is interesting because this kind of like goes into the theme of the movie, which is like self-realization in a sense, or like I guess that's the right word. Um, I guess it's not self-worth either, but what would it be? What would you call it? Like the idea of like doing something
Well,
and
there's
then once you complete it, it's like now what?
I guess there's something to be said about like a purpose
Yeah,
is probably what we're looking for
self-purpose.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
self-purpose. Yeah,
yeah,
because
goals and objectives and whatnot.
his whole life he's spent being bad because that's all he's known what to do. He's always been a villain. And
Right.
now he wins, and it's like, wait, what the fuck do I do now that I have everything?
Well, think about it. We're both gamers, as it were. If you were playing any kind of game or like an MMO or something, and your character gets max level, you get all the
Mm.
best gear. You're like you finished like all your crafting, yeah, other side quest things. You've gotten the achievements. It's like, oh, okay. Well, now what? Well, now I get a different game, I guess, because I've done it. Like everything that needs to be done is done.
Yeah, it's
So,
very much like once you finish an RPG, you're just like, oh, that's it.
right,
Like, what do I do now to move on with? How do
right.
I move past this? And most
He
people
doesn't
would
have
find, yeah,
he doesn't have a bigger boss to fight. There's no new game plus. He can't level up another character. So he's
mm-mm,
like, oh, I guess I've done the things.
mm-hmm.
There's a time skip of unspecified size, um, but
Yeah,
we see him like he's blissfully like robbing banks, and him and Minion are like hitting each other with sacks of gold, and
they
he's stealing
steal the Ark
paintings.
of the Covenant.
Yeah, he steals the Mona Lisa.
No, I think the Ark is way funnier to me. Just the
I think it is
entire.
too, but I want to make sure we know how much of everything is being stolen.
What's the Mona Lisa doing in Michigan?
Yeah, that was yeah.
Because
Maybe it's
like,
just a replica.
oh, you know what? That would make sense. Because like we said, he lived a literal sheltered life. He probably doesn't know what the where the real Mona Lisa might be. Which is something Pat pointed out. He's like, why is he not that smart? I thought he's got a mega mind. It's like he has high like intelligence, but he doesn't know what
His
to.
his wisdom stats a little
Yeah,
rough.
yeah, because he
That's
doesn't.
also why we're having issues with like him not warming up the laser ahead of time and
Mm,
other adjacent things.
correct. It's a lot of
But hey,
like.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, and I like it a lot because just because you're super smart doesn't mean you know what to do every single time, which always
Of
gets me
course.
pissed off. It's like, oh, this character has like, I guess we're going back to Black Adam and stuff, but this person's got the wisdom of Saruman, and like well, I guess it's wisdom, but it's the intelligence of Saruman. He's able to know anything. It's like, okay, cool, but how can he apply it? Like now you
Yeah,
have to actually
exactly.
be able to apply it. It's like when
Yep.
at school you're like it's an open book test. Great, I have all the knowledge, but now I just need to know how to apply that knowledge.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just I'm super smart. I'm the smartest man in the universe. Mr. Elastic, whoever the fuck it is from Multiverse of Madness,
Oh,
who then dies immediately.
Yeah, Reed Richards, the
Yeah,
dumbest man. I'm
yeah,
sorry, smartest man in the. Fuck that.
multiverses.
Um, it's so funny.
Mhm.
I'm the smartest man in the multiverse. This is how I am going to defeat you.
Literally,
Oh
if he
no, you
just
countered it. Crap, I didn't
if
see this coming.
he just said something like, "Oh well, her shield is able to perfectly penetrate through your skin. She could just get rid of the shield, and Black Adam could just go, e, and problem solved.
Yeah, there
Just
you
do a
go.
little, just do a little trickery, just do a little
Yeah,
fooling
lesson
around.
in trickery.
Yeah, this will go down in history. But talking more about like his low wisdom, like literally he walks to that room and is like, "Oh, what is this?" He's like, "Oh, it's a window. All the kids are looking through them," which
I thought that was pretty funny.
it's so good. But
I was
yeah,
like, yeah, that follows. You know, villain has probably got like an underground layer or something.
mm.
Yeah,
I mean, also he was in prison his entire fucking life, so
yeah, it's true too.
in a one-man cell. So I guess, well, no, there's a window in there. Wait a minute.
It's bars. I don't know if that's
I
a.
guess
I don't know. I
no,
don't
it
know
was
what
a
constitutes a window.
yeah, it wouldn't be outside, so I guess it makes more sense.
Yeah, I guess yeah, because you'd only be able to really see through the like the cages or not cages. Wow, fences
Mm-hmm.
outside in the courtyard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
All right, there you go.
Um,
It's consistent. Oh, God, I
yeah,
love
yeah.
that.
It's I love consistency in my movies.
Me too.
Imagine movies not being consistent. What a crazy
I
idea.
know. That would look terrible.
Yeah, we wouldn't talk about that movie for like 2 hours. No, 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 no,
No,
no,
no,
no,
no,
no,
couldn't.
no. Was it? He was always there for us. Was this? Who's reading this?
He was always there for us. Probably Tina or Roxanne.
Yeah, we
'Cause
never really knew
she's
how
doing another
good.
show.
Yeah, we have it till it's gone. We miss you, Metro Man. I miss you. And I have one question from Megamind. Are you happy now? And this is kind of like the cherry on top of this whole scene of him being depressed and sad. Where even like I think Minion, who we really haven't talked about, Minion's just like his fish friend. He builds like a suit for him to walk around in with. Um,
Yeah, he seems to be his cue somewhat.
is
Just
like a guardian and whatnot.
yeah. He was given to him as a baby on
Mm,
exploding home planet on Krypton,
mm.
as I'll call it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I,
exactly.
I I like Minion. There's not a lot going on there, but he's
He's just a fun little side character.
I like him. Yeah,
Yeah,
he can
he's very
spare.
fun. He's funny. I like him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so Roxanne kind of points out this fact, and once again, we have another clip of Hal being creepy. Wait, Roxy, I'm having a party at my house. It's gonna be like off the hook or whatever. You should come. I got a DJ. I rented a bouncy house. Made a gallon of dip. It's gonna be sick. Uh,
Made a gallon of
which,
dick. Hell
by the
yeah.
way, his place he lives in is I couldn't even call it a one bedroom apartment. It's like it's like a 4 by 3 room where the bed pops out from the wall and there's no room after that. Like that's it. Like it's a really sad commentary on where he lives.
Yeah, don't know where
uh
the bouncy house goes, but you know
yeah.
what? I'll allow it.
But she's like, I don't want to come. I don't really want to be around a lot of people right now. And he's like, Oh no, it's just be you and me. It's just be you and me. I also hired a wedding photographer just in case something happens. It's just like, bro, you don't understand how to move things slowly.
Like we
You,
gotta play the long game here. Come on.
yeah. In the great words of Jake, you have to take things by steps. You gotta take
Right,
step one, then you get to step 15. Don't ever go past step 15.
right. 15 steps at a time. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
quickest.
I want to watch Adventure Time again. I really do. I keep getting told that it's good, but I can't remember it for the life of me.
I would watch Adventure Time for the first time.
Oh, really? You've never seen it?
I've seen episodes here and there, but I didn't like
But not
see
like
it.
the
See it.
full story. Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
I think it's worth it if you skip past season one. Season one's like
Okay.
that really early cringe shit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. To be expected.
mhm.
There's a lot of good shows like
uh,
that.
yeah, there's a lot of shows that just have a rough season one. Steven Universe. Anyways, moving on.
Buffy.
Um, so she goes inside the museum and kind of like looks around. Um, sorry, another great loud Hal line is chicks don't like bouncy houses, they like clowns.
Yeah.
It's like he's so out of touch. It's really good.
He's very much trying to play this, like systematically at this
Mm,
point. Like, oh man, you want to get the girl? What do you do? Oh, what do girls like? They like
yeah.
clowns, It's like, nah, dude,
He's like trying to
come on.
play an RPG and trying to like get with the girl.
He's trying to min max girl getting.
Yeah. He put his stats to the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Um
Fair.
but yeah, so Megamind's also here now, by the way, and in like his PJs and stuff. And he's talking to
Oh,
the
yeah.
statue of Metro Man who's like standing above, and he's just like, everything sucks. I miss you. I I I I don't know what to do.
Yeah. They're both saying it.
Well, yeah, I was about to say this is the reason why I want to bring the script up. I think the writing's just great, and I really wanted to like analyze it. Um, do you want me to send you the script? I don't know why I didn't think about this earlier.
Oh yeah, just go drop it in the Discord.
Yeah, yeah. All right, here you go. In case you have some input you want to point out. Um, but yeah, like Roxanne's on the one side and he's on the other, and she's just like, "Without you, evil's running rampant through the streets." And then Megamind's like, "I'm so tired of running rampant through the street." And it's like it's just like this cute little moment where like it's clear Megamind doesn't want to do this anymore, but he doesn't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then we
He's
meet,
without purpose, like we
yeah.
said, directionless.
Then we meet Bernard, who's a nothing character, and we don't need to talk about it anymore. He tells her or tells he tells Roxanne it's time for closing, and you need to leave, and and Metro or Megamind's just like, oh well, I have to leave I'm gonna leave here soon because we're gonna blow up this place. I'm gonna blow it up. It just cuts to all of his little minion bots just setting up TNT at the
Yeah,
base of
just
it.
like Looney Tunes level, just setting up a bunch of explosives down below.
Yeah. And eventually he realizes, oh shit, I have to change my costume because Roxanne sees me. And after like he's running the statue so Roxanne can't see him. And he sees Bernard. And I guess we've got to mention this, but like he has a watch where he can like change his disguise. He like do a full body change. Think of like oh, I had a D&D reference for this son of a bitch. There's a D&D
It's shape shifting, guys.
yeah, it's kind of. I mean, polymorph is very different because you get the stats and abilities of the thing you transform into.
Yeah,
Um,
I think we're meant to think that's not what happens here.
I got it. Don't worry. I got it. I know what it's called. I know the spell. I know the spell. Disguise self. It's like disguise self. There you go. Got it. Boom. Figured it out. Bada
There
bing,
you
bada
go.
boom. I did it. I must look like a fool there.
Yeah,
Um,
oh, thank God.
and by the way, the entire time Bernard's dunking on Megamind, being like, "That's not how he looks. That's stupid. You look so stupid." And he doesn't point out he doesn't point out the like pajamas, which I think is super funny. He points out the head isn't that large and the gun doesn't look like that. And I
Yeah.
think that's really funny. Those are the 2 points he makes sure everyone notices.
hmm
It's just like everyone's thinking of the pajamas, but instead it's the rest of the costume.
Yeah. He's just immediately like, wow, looks like you bought that on Amazon vibes.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, and it just I can't get over the rain because I don't want to keep talking about it because we're going to talk about every single line, but it's just all of it's super good. Um,
hmm
he and Roxanne flee and like escape, and they kind of like have a moment of realization. Um, sorry, oh Bernard, I didn't know you had feelings.
Yeah.
It's so good. But then they both kind of come to the realization of like, hey, maybe we can make a new hero. And that's when Megamind's like, that's what I need. I need another hero. And he
Right.
like runs off to go meet with his minion, and like they blow up the thing blows up and they run away. And he explains to Minion, he's just like, we're gonna make a new hero for me to fight, so I have one last stand, like a one last great finish, you know?
hmm
Because he thinks that'll make him feel better of having another hero to fight.
Yeah.
So they take a bit of his DNA of Metro Man's DNA and like fuse it into this giant gun thing. And you know what?
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of the talking. You want to take over?
Oh, I just
Mm.
yeah, so now we've got a one time inject somebody with Metro Man's powers.
Mm.
And yeah, who's it who we gonna do it with? And uh this part of the movie is blanking on me. So they finish, you know, Minions thinking this isn't a very good idea, but he's going for it anyway. Let's see.
What's going on?
I'm ch- I'm totally lost. Let's see.
This is when
Do they
Roxanne
show up at
finds,
the base
yeah,
right now?
the
Okay.
secret location because because Minion put a welcome mat.
Yeah, she's uh he like had just finished saying how they're not gonna find his
Mm.
secret lair, and she's like, "Oh, I found it. It's the only building in the city that has a fake observation tower on it." It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, that makes sense because we needed that earlier. And he's like, well, it doesn't matter though because she's never gonna get inside. And yeah, there's a welcome mat, but
Yeah.
instead of
Oh,
saying welcome, it just says like secret
secret
entrance.
entrance. Yeah.
Mhm.
I keep forgetting where it was.
Yeah. So he disguises as Bernard and goes to find her. And she's I love when characters point out things that they obviously should, because she
Mm,
right away is like, "Oh, how how'd you get here so fast?" And he's like,
mm.
I was running nearby or
Yeah.
something.
Speed walking.
Speed walking. There you go. That's kind of
Yeah.
like running. I
Formal
think
speed walking because he's wearing the a suit still.
right. It's formal because yeah, that's what the scan has.
Mm,
I think we should probably talk about at some point here. He doesn't really talk correctly, Megamind. He
mm.
goofs a few of his words here and there.
Oh yeah. I guess it's good because we talked about the exit sign. Um, he doesn't know English language that well. Like he knows it, but he calls Metro City Metrocity as in one word. He doesn't call it Metro City's Metrocity, or like schoolhouse, or
Yeah,
Olo. Like
sure.
there's a lot of different little like quirks in his English dialect.
Yep. I think even when he picks up the call, because he's got Bernard's phone, when he answers a call, he says "olo" instead of "hello."
Yep. Yep. And
Yep.
Minion corrects him.
Yeah. And these things will pop up here and there. So
Mm,
just want to plant a little seed in everyone's head right away.
mm.
So this, trying to think of exactly where this conversation goes to.
Roxanne's basically like, "Hey, we have all this information. Won't you help me like piece this all together?" And he's like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, sure, sure, sure." And then like calls in the bots to help him basically.
yeah. He's trying to keep he's trying to keep her out of like finding what he's trying to do.
Mm,
So he's like, "Oh yeah, let me take the lead around here. Maybe we should go this way." And yeah, it's the exit sign. And she's
mm,
like, "No, no, that's the way out. Let's look over here." And she just finds all of his notes and everything, and
mm.
everything's going very bad.
Like this is a whole like little action set piece scene, which is very fun because like the brain bots attack Megamind as Bernard, and he has to like quickly switch back and forth to get them off of him. He's like keep changing his disguise back and forth in order to keep Roxanne thinking that both he and Bernard are there. There's like a really funny scene where he's like fighting with himself inside a little doorway, and he keeps complimenting himself.
Yeah, a lot of like, "Wow, you're really strong, man. This is a difficult fight."
Yeah.
And he's constantly switching between the two forms to try to make sure that yeah, it looks like a convincing fight scene. It's really well done. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's very actionable and very exciting, which is weird that it's rare to find that in a hero movie. Hmm.
And I suppose the big conclusion of this is he accidentally or purposely fires the weapon to turn someone into the new Metro Man,
Hmm.
but it bounces all around the room and ends up hitting Jonah Hill, who's outside.
Yeah, and he like gets knocked out basically. Well, not knocked out. He just like has something in his nose now. Um,
Yeah,
and once again, kind of give you the idea that he's kind of like trying to hype himself up and be like this mega Chad person. He's like, I was just about to go inside and help you out. I was about to come inside, and, assist you whenever, but like 50 ninjas attacked me and I had to beat them all up. So you know how it is. Like, just clearly like douchebag and energy and behavior.
yeah.
Mm.
Um, there a line that I particularly like about this
Mm.
is after they escape, as it were, she
Mm.
gives Bernard a hug, and God, I don't know what the exact line is. Let me make sure I got it because
Mm.
it's good. Yeah, that was weird for everybody because you accidentally hugged him instead of me. It gives me the
Oh
like the
yeah.
where's my hug vibes,
Oh,
and
oh, oh.
yeah, for real. I like
It's
it. I like that line.
I like that. That's a good line. The one that I like from this is when he said when she was like or he was like oh, who are you? He's like, oh, this is Bernard, and she was like, this is my partner, and he gets super super clingy at that. Like,
Oh yeah,
well,
he's like
listen,
part.
partner, I'm her partner,
Yep.
and like immediately she's like trying to like manhandle her out of the situation. Um, and it's kind
Oh
of
yeah,
fucked.
he's absolutely white knighting
Mm.
for her right away.
Yeah,
She's been through a traumatic situation, bruv.
she doesn't know what she's talking about. You're crazy. It's like
Yeah.
it's Hal is so well written. It's just unfortunate that like his voice actor isn't great. He's good. He's just kind of like the weakest one in this whole group of people, I think.
I think that's fair.
Mm.
He's still good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Um.
I think he looks the part too.
Yeah.
You know, like I can believe that voice is coming from that person,
Mm.
which they all have going for them.
Uh. And then they go to find Hal Stewart. Uh. Megamind and his minion go to find them, or go to find him, and like apparently he has no records. Like no one knows any. He's done nothing with his life. He is 28 and has done nothing. So probably means he does Twitch streaming on the side, or at least
Yeah,
runs a Reddit posts and whatnot.
yeah, cameraman by day, Twitch stream by night, you know how
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Apparently this
But
man hasn't accomplished anything yet.
mhm.
Yeah.
And hey, Megamind sees that as an opportunity. Now's the
Mhm.
time. We can make something of the guy.
Which is interesting because that's also what happened with, in a weird sense, like Megamind and Metro Man. They both started with nothing and both had potential, right? Is that kind of weird?
Well, it's like they were all kind of forced into the situation they're in.
Right. And this is situation. Well, I guess he was also kind of forced, but it's more of a set statement of like he's done nothing with his life so far, so he hasn't made an impact, and now he's been given this ability to make an impact. How would someone of normal variety use this power? Which I think is super interesting because we have two characters so far where one of them like uses their powers for good because it's what they're known to do, and one for evil because it's what they know to do. Hal has just been given these powers and doesn't know what to do. He has an idea of what he wants to do, but uh, we can get to that.
Yeah, he's got the romanticized version of the world in his head.
Mhm.
and he's eager to be a part of that world with his new set of abilities and his new status. But alas,
Another thing I
worried
want
so
to point
easy.
out. The other thing I want to point out. Speaking of Reddit, actually, I just can't believe I'm browsing Reddit. I'm so sorry. Uh, there's a Reddit I found called Movie Details. And at this point, Megamind and Minion break into his room, uh, and he's like trying to get them out. And Megamind was like, "Just hit him with the forget me stick," and knocks him out. And the book behind him when he's knocked out is apparently called "The Best Comic Book Villains Ever." And
It is.
I think, yeah,
Ah.
I have the photo here if you want it.
I actually have the movie open now.
Oh,
I'm
do
looking
you?
at it.
Perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very funny to me that and the I don't know. It's below it says foreshadowing. Oh, okay. I can click that. And there's like foreshadowing posts. Okay, gotcha, gotcha. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So I think that's a very fun little detail for what's coming up. But yeah, they knock him out and then they redisguise themselves um with what is it? Megamind dressing up as like a space dad and Minion's space stepmom, which it's so stupid out of context, but it's so funny how much like Minion gets into character.
Yeah, it just Megamind has like, he's what is it? Not polymorphed, but look,
Oh,
he's
oh, oh, oh.
nope, nope, no. I'm sorry, I'm not a Dungeons Dragons player. You'll have
It
to give
is
me an instant
disguise
save.
self.
Yeah, he is disguised self, and he's looking. It definitely gives me like fairy godmother vibes, except
Mhm.
he's a guy. But
Yeah. Like
um,
fairy godmothers, but if they're like a space ghost from Star Wars.
yeah, that works
Yeah.
for me. And then
Okay.
yeah, Minion is just like there's no matching aesthetic here is what I'm really trying to say. He has
Yeah.
just put a wig over his fish tank and a apron on,
That
and
says
he's
kiss
like,
the
"Yep,
cook,
this is it." Cat says kiss the cook.
which is very good.
And we'll
Uh,
find out with a pretty well-timed joke later that he's totally sold by this
mm,
disguise in particular. So hey,
uh,
good stuff.
he has like a little accent he puts on, which makes it hard. Once again, on like hard for him to say certain words. Um, and like obviously Titan or not Titan. Hal's very excited with all this. Um, there's like a whole like montage of him learning how to be a superhero, and Megamind kind of realizes he's in over his head.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, we should probably point out right away that Hal was like short, nerdy incel kid before, and now
mm,
he's like big and strong. Like the shirt he was wearing before that was like the right size for him is now fitting him like a crop top. Like,
yeah, he isn't
yeah.
able to wear most of his clothes anymore.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, yeah, so he's just bigger, but he basically has all the powers of Metro Man. What the one downside is that like he doesn't know how to use them properly. Um, and like they're trying to teach him with the song Blue Sky playing, which is just fantastic. Um, and while all this is happening, Roxanne Ritchie and him are dating. Well, not him, Bernard are dating. Um, and so he's trying to juggling that part of his life plus training Hal, plus still putting on the facade of being evil. Like he has new enjoyments in life,
Yeah.
and it shows that he's finding purpose in something besides just being a villain. Which it's kind of nice, kind of cute. It's kind of a nice little moment that he's doing. Like
Yeah, I like it.
one of the things is not going well clearly, but at least the things with Roxanne are going smoothly. Um, da, 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 da.
Yeah, and he's pretty committed to the bit with Hal, so like he'll keep working on it. But yeah, in one of the first scenes, because he's training him to fight Megamind, so he just like grabs him, holds him down by his neck, and then melts his face with his laser vision.
Mhm.
And Megamind's like, "Oh no!" Like clearly terrified at this. But hey, we can. we got time. We can train him. So we'll see how it
Mm-hmm.
goes.
And the training goes as well as it could.
Yeah,
Just
pretty
to
much.
say, yeah, not very well. Um, they had like a moment where they all sit together. Well, not all of them, Megamind and now Titan, which I guess is a weird thing. In the script, he's called Titan, Titan, but then like on everything else I've seen, and in the even in the subtitles, he's called Tighten, like Titan.
Tight.
And I think that's what he even writes later down. He writes down Titan, um, which is it weird thing, weird little like it's that's the only inconsistency I could
Weird.
find. That's the only
Because
inconsistency I could find.
in his notes, I thought it was spelled correctly.
Yeah,
Like
it's
the
called
ones hanging up.
yeah that one's just called Titan. So it's like I guess
Yeah.
there's just a weird miss like it's like a not miss but like a weird like lost in discussion, which I guess is bound to happen.
Are when did you say it's spelled Tigh? Is it like
It's
just in
near
the
the end.
subtitles or?
It's at the end.
Huh.
Like, do you know what I'm talking about in that moment of the film?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Hold on. Uh, that moment. I text in the chat. Is that do you know
Oh,
that moment? Yeah.
um, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. While you check that, I'll keep going on.
Okay, yeah, works for me.
And he kind of points out, Titan kind of points out, hey, I got my eyes on one currently, and it shows him literally staring at Roxanne Ritchie, who's still trying to figure out who Titan is and what. Well, not trying to figure out like Megamind's plan, and like it's back to that whole like thing you talked about earlier about like he would watch her a like a dingo watches a baby. Like he's literally doing it now. He has the power to do that, and now we know what he's going to use that power for. And it kind of gives us the sense that things are going to go bad. And Megamind gives the worst advice in this situation, which is all you have to do is save her, and she'll be yours. Uh,
Yeah, I think that was like, I don't know. I feel like he just kind of said that without thinking at all.
mm. Because he
Yeah.
doesn't know that he wants Roxanne. He doesn't know any of that.
No, yeah. But I think just like more so like he's really focused on the training bits and he's like, oh yeah, just do this, it'll probably work. Like not really paying, you're like hearing him but not really paying attention.
Right.
Was the vibe I got at least, because he
Well,
certainly seems to understand that more is required than
oh,
just saving the girl.
hey, remember I mentioned I've never seen a Guillermo del Toro movie earlier?
Benicio, Benicio del Toro?
What? No, Guillermo del Toro. No, I didn't. No, wrong person. Wrong person. Fuck, might be. Well, apparently,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
different.
yeah.
Yeah, Shape of Water guy. Yeah, apparently he was also in this. Well, he wasn't in this movie, but he was a creative consultant 3 weeks before the film completed production. So
Hey,
he's in this movie too, technically,
technically, all right.
which is pretty funny. Um, so I'm looking at like the fun trivia stuff real quick.
I gotcha.
Um,
One thing we haven't said out loud, but I think needs to be mentioned. This is very much a parody of
yeah,
superhero content.
we've kind of danced around the point by point out like,
Yeah,
oh, it's like, oh, well, one planet's being destroyed, but then another planet's also being destroyed at the same time.
yeah. Like his birth, origin is very obviously Superman. The invisible car is like
Wonder Woman's
pretty
invisible jet.
pretty clean Wonder Woman
Yeah.
reference.
And apparently DreamWorks was doing this a lot at this time too. There's two other movies that were parody movies. There's Monsters vs. Aliens and Shark Tale,
Hmm.
which both were supposed to be parody movies, Or all three of them supposed to be parody movies, but the only ones that were really parodies were Shark Tale and Megamind. Monsters vs. Aliens was just a big monster movie. Like,
Yeah, it was just like I never saw it as a parody. I had to be
mm,
told, you know? Like,
yeah,
yeah, I thought it was just a, funny
it's
animated, monster movie.
it's like, haha, what if normal human girl became large? That's it. Anyways, moving on.
Right. Well, yeah. I kind of like the other characters, but it's just, oh
Mm,
yeah, we're just gonna, all these zany characters with wacky backstories, we're gonna, work together in the end because that's what you do to overcome the greater evils, and those are always
mm,
nice. I enjoy those,
yeah.
but
Although I will say
yeah,
the greatest scene in that movie is still when the president goes up the steps and starts playing bum bum
yes,
bum ba bum bum bum
you are
bum bum
correct.
ba bum. What a fucking
Crazy
hilarious
Frog
scene.
song.
Yeah. It's
Pretty
such a
much
good.
everything the president does in that movie is great.
Yeah. It's a really fucking good movie. Well, for the president, everything else is just kind of eh. And
I
apparently
like it. I'll
apparently
vouch for it. I haven't seen it in years.
apparently this movie Megamind is what made them stop doing parody movies.
Yeah,
Uh
Chappelle talks about that in his video.
hmm,
Because this one just didn't do as well as because I think they finished Shrek, and
hmm,
they made the Dragon movie.
How to Train Your
Wow.
Dragon.
Yeah, both like the same year, and those were both more successful. Or wait, it
Yep.
was Despicable Me and How to Train Your Dragon.
Well, Despicable Me was not made by DreamWorks, but yeah,
Well,
Despicable Me
yeah,
really blew up. Um, and unfortunately, now we live in the fucking Minion hellscape. Not the other Minion, the yellow Minion.
I I enjoyed the minions in the first one.
Yeah, because they weren't spammed.
Mm,
They were reasonable. There's only like a handful of them. There weren't thousands of them, which is a weird retcon they did. They're like, oh yeah, there's millions of them now.
yeah, I mean there was always a bunch, but
Yeah,
like you never got the sense that it was like something absurd, like
yeah,
a couple hundred maybe.
yeah.
Mm.
And then they only now
But
use three at a time. Hey, sorry, moving on.
oh no
Moving
no,
on.
it's all good. It's just yeah. Apparently, one of the executives or something said that they were done doing the parody content after this,
Mm,
and because like Shark Tale and this movie weren't as successful as they wanted, and
mm,
it's definitely that like oh no you learned the wrong lesson from this, didn't you?
absolutely. You should have picked up better on what we were trying to tell you, which is we want these movies, but you have to write them better.
They got to be written real good, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't remember if I made the joke with you, but like when Joker came out and
Mm.
it made um however much money, billion or something, the joke we were having was like, oh man, they're gonna learn the wrong lesson from this, aren't they? They're gonna be like, oh, apparently your rated R movies need to be based in the 70s or whatever to be successful. And it's like, no, 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 no. It's the writing. It's the right. I promise.
It's the
Just the writing.
writing, it's the directing, it's the music, which actually we could take this little detour to this, I guess. The
All right.
music of this movie is fine. It's
Is
very
what?
surface level like music. Like,
Oh,
oh, Megamind's only listening to songs that have the word bad or evil in it. And it's like, yeah, I get it.
yeah, it's like rock songs and stuff.
Yeah. Rock, heavy
I
rock and stuff.
I like it, but then again, I like all those songs, so maybe that.
Yeah. Your brain is just like, oh, I know those songs, so you can like relate to the scene a bit more. Um,
Mhm.
they're used properly, but I guess like it kind of makes the film not have its own musical identity, you know?
Yeah, it's
But I
fair.
guess DreamWorks is kind of good. Well, no, DreamWorks does that well with Shrek, where they have the like current day music stuff in it, but they are still able to have their own theme or like a sort of tone you know for it, you know?
Yeah, was there any original music in this?
I'm sure there was, I just can't remember it.
Okay, same.
Mhm. Like when I think of Shrek, I think of either All Star or that like piano they have for Fiona's Tower. Those are the two that I think of when it comes to that.
Yeah,
Mhm. And I Need a Hero, but I'm just talking about Shrek itself, not the whole series.
right, right, yeah, of course.
We'll talk about that trilogy trilogy eventually, I think, right?
There we go. I think it's a
Yeah.
quadrilogy.
No, no, just trilogy.
All
Uh,
right. Which one
anyways,
are you? Which
yep.
one do we not talk about? The last one or the third one?
The, well, no, the last one is the third one. There is no third one.
Oh,
There's no one that's just called the third one. There's the first, the second, and the last. They skipped the third one for some reason.
oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, that
Yeah.
answers my question. Very good.
Glad I could do that for you.
Yeah, I
Uh,
probably agree.
but yeah, so at this point, they're like the next day they're going to do, um, they're gonna do the whole thing. They're gonna do like fight. They're gonna fight. They're gonna be ready to fight. And he's like, "Oh, I gotta go. I gotta go on a date with Roxanne." And Minion now finally gets what's happening. Minion's like, "Wait, have you been doing all these nice things around to make Roxanne happy? Yada yada yada." Um, and yeah, they kind of have a falling apart. Which, okay, sure, whatever.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
it's worth mentioning. Yeah, the night before he's meant to go fight Megamind, he goes and pays Roxanne a visit.
mm, oh my god, how could I have forgotten about this? This is so important and vital to the story. Yes. Um, he he or yeah,
I just
Titan goes and like tries to win over Roxanne by first of all just stealing a bunch of flowers because he doesn't know what flowers she wants. So he just takes the whole thing, which once again, kind of a show that he doesn't actually care about her. He just kind of cares about, trying to have her. I'm not saying you should know your female friend's flowers taste, but I'm just saying if you're actually interested in someone, you should know what they're into. You know?
well, it's something worth talking about probably.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is meant to be like a flex as well. Like, oh yeah, yeah, most people would have just, got me some flowers. I got you all of them. So yeah, just to make
Yeah.
sure.
Da, da,
But
da, da.
this doesn't go great because she's still not interested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
because she even mentioned she isn't really into Metro Man either. She was ever into it because she's more than like the nerdy boys.
yeah,
And
I don't know
like,
if she I don't remember she said that to him or
no,
later.
she says that to
Okay.
Bernard, which is
Yeah.
Megamind. So he
Yeah, yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
know.
Yep.
Um, he,
Which, I
but,
think works because it's like lightly implied that her and Metro Man were a thing, but then she reveals that they weren't.
mhm. It's all like a publicity thing.
If even.
Hmm.
Like he was clearly invested in saving her, and I think that's just what you assume, right?
Yeah, he saves everybody.
Yeah. Well, he would, but not everybody didn't get captured. It was just her on repeat.
Yeah.
Hmm. But
But
anyway,
yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say he tries to fly her around, and like it's not going well. She's not into it. She's scared,
Hmm.
and she's like still not. He reveals who he is, or who he was prior, and she's like, no, still not. Not interested, not happening. And
Hmm.
this is when he kind of loses it. He's like, wait, what the hell? Like I did the things that you're meant to do.
He thinks that he's done all the requirements to unlock the pathway for her, but no.
To unlock Coochie, one
To
must
unlock
be
Gucci.
strong and super powered.
Let's unlock Gucci. Um, yeah, she takes him to the top of this tower, and she's just like, "I'm not interested in you, Hal." Uh, and she even tries to explain like why she's like, "I'm trying to figure out why Megamind wanted to make you, but he like didn't want to like what like she's confused at this point. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's. It's good that he's spiraling here, because
Mm,
it super annoys me when characters forget how to talk to each other and don't like explain. situations or like why they're concerned about certain things, and that that's like the only way that the plot moves forward. I think it's done better here because the only thing he's interested in talking about is dating her, and she's like kind of trying to move past that now, and she's like, no, wait, like we think Megamind created you. What's going on here? Like, you should be worried about this because this can hurt you, essentially.
Yeah, sorry, I found an eye-opening article. Sorry, to
Yeah.
start with, I agree with what you said.
Okay.
I should make that clear. I agree with what you said.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
of course, no problem. This says Titan slash Hal Stewart became evil because he got rejected is a misconception. And
Uh, go
I,
go ahead.
I'm reading through it.
I
But
think I
he's just
agree.
it's it's a bit of a. Oh, we can come back to this. We can come back to this because it's mixed bag, and we're going to get to it here in a second.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, it's like a good enough point, but
mhm,
I'm interested in how it gets argued.
but yeah, what with characters not being able to talk to each other, it's in this film it's done well because we see Hal as someone who's clearly already unhinged. Like he doesn't listen, and what's even more important is that Roxanne doesn't want to talk to Hal, so they don't really ever have like a relationship. So it makes sense that they have poor communication, you know.
Mhm. I think
Uh,
they even. Ooh,
mhm.
I might have made this up. Do they say? No. Sure, Phyllis said. They don't have. We don't see them having any conversations that are like personal, except
No,
for like right after work, ever. Like this is it.
and even then, it was never about their personal lives. It was always just like, "Hey, come over to my place." Like he was trying to get her to come with him. It was never
He's
about
very,
knowing each other.
very clearly unaware of social cues.
Imagine that. Um,
Shocker.
yeah, he like flies off, and then she comes to the date. There's a very funny gag where like it's been so long that the flame has gone out, so he just takes out his gun and just shoots it to set it ablaze again. In the
Yeah.
middle of this crowded restaurant, he just pulls out a gun and shoots. And
Mhm.
no one notices.
Yeah.
Uh,
I uh I liked it.
it's very good. It's a very quick little gag.
Mhm.
Um, and then she comes to Bernard and explains everything. Like, hey, I found out he created a hero. Um, he wants to get beaten up again. He's a masochist. He can't take being a good person anymore. And then Bart's like, oh, that why would he pick? He's like, yeah, it's so true. And then she explains, why would he pick Hal? That's like the worst option. And he's just like, oh yeah, ooh, that's not. Oops.
Oops, indeed.
Um, and then they kind of have like a sweet, genuine moment with each other. And he explains because we did talk about this, but Minion's just like, what if she finds out who you really are? What will she do then?
Right.
And so he kind of like dances around the point
I
of
like that
being,
he's the one who brings it up here because it
yeah,
shows us that he's actually thinking about it.
yeah, it's something that's really sitting with him, and like he's concerned about it.
Mhm.
Let's say I was bald and had the complexion of a popular primary color as a random
Yeah.
non-specific example.
Mhm.
It's very good. And she even she's like, yeah, I would totally. Why would I not? And like, you don't judge a book by the cover. We know each other enough where I feel like if that happens, like we would be fine.
Right.
Um, and then they go in for a kiss, and they kiss, and then she rubs the watch, and he turns back to Megamind, and then everything kind of falls apart. They have another split off scene, which is the thing I like. We didn't mention this either, but like he went to clean up the streets by putting everything in like small little cubes. He has like this gun that can like dehydrate and rehydrate things, so they become
Oh
like
yeah.
small little cubes.
Oh, yeah. That we should talk about all his tools honestly, because
Mm,
he doesn't use too many of them, so it's like good to know what powers he has access to.
hmm
But yeah, you're right. and I think that's where the real Bernard currently is, in a
Hmm.
cube,
He's in a
which
cube in
would,
his pocket, which is very funny.
yeah, made a
Not
good
to
after
spoil it,
credit
but
scene.
that's it. Not to spoil it, but I don't think Bernard comes back ever. I think they just like keep
So
Bernard there forever.
I'll spoil it. He comes
Mm.
back in an after credit scene.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, and this is good. Well, this worked well for me because I didn't realize he was in one of those cubes,
Mm.
and the whole time I was thinking, we just forgot about Bernard, didn't we? But no, we
What happens
didn't.
to Bernard? Because I actually don't know. I've never seen the end credits scene.
It, he turns him into a cube and puts him in his pocket, and then Minion is at
Right.
home,
Yeah.
and like the washing machine finishes, and Bernard pops out of it, and then I think Minion hits him with the forget me stick, and he's like,
Oh.
"Dude, you gotta remember to empty your pockets before you put stuff in the
Oh,
wash."
that's
And I'm
really
like,
funny.
"That's pretty good."
That's really fucking funny.
Yeah, the gun dehydrates stuff to
Mm.
and turns it into a small cube, and then you just apply some water to it, and it
It
will
rehydrates.
turn it back to what it was.
Which is such a cool idea. That's such a cool concept.
Oh, it's a really good mechanic.
Hmm. Hmm.
It
I
it
wish.
like it's one of those things like Portal, where it's like, oh yeah, we could make a few levels in a game based off
Yeah,
this
you could
idea.
make an entire game off of that. I think.
I think so.
Like, my God, what a cool concept. Anyway, point being, um, like his secret's revealed. She runs off, and like as she's walking, it's raining, and like all the trash starts to come back because now all the rain's hitting it. Uh, I guess I can talk about this too. The rain effects kind of look great for the time. Like I know you have the movie
Yeah,
up right now, but like when we were watching the scene, I think it was either me or Pat pointed out like the rippling of the water on the ground is so well done.
yeah, it all looks really good.
Hmm. And I figured out why. I'm looking at it, and apparently, like they had four people specifically who were working on animating capes. Like what is it?
I'm sorry, four people specifically animating what?
Capes. A whole crew
Cape?
of animators was dedicated solely to the movement of capes.
I gotcha.
So they could like they were literally like your job is to make sure the capes look perfect. Which is
And
like
there's more than one of you.
yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Hmm.
I wanted to point out, I'm looking at it right now, the scene with the rain. It's assisted by a couple things. Like you said, on the ground it looks really good.
Mm.
And then it's you can see it like dripping off of our characters, especially Megamind, since he has a massive bald head, but it's like subtle, so it looks really nice. And
Mm.
the invisible car is parked behind him, and that's like a really good opportunity to show off the effect because you only have to show the rain and like in the outline of the car. So yeah, it splashes up really nicely, it collects and flows off really nicely.
The invisible car, you mean?
All looks, yeah, the invisible car. What did I
Yeah,
say?
yeah. No, that's what you said. I'm just double checking because I had like
Oh,
an
okay.
ADHD moment where I like spaced out for a moment. Like
All good.
I was retaining what you were saying, but it was like leaving my brain.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, so looks
Yeah,
very nice.
it looks super nice. It's such a cool little thing. Um, yeah, they had like their big breakup moment, and then he like now everyone's gone from his life. He's like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna be a villain again. It's what I'm good at doing. I have Titan tomorrow. I can at least do what I'm good at doing and like lose, you know? Because that's all he really wants.
Yeah. I'm
So
sorry, I
next,
also just had an ADHD moment. Um,
it is almost midnight, so we're both kind of like, "Bleh."
fair enough. Um, I do want to say one thing I kind of like about this is, ah man, I should have, I need to be keeping up better with the script.
While you do that, Massachusetts Branch Showcase Cinema accidentally showed Saw 3D instead of Megamind at the time of its release.
Oh
Oh no!
no.
Oh, no! That's so bad! Oh no! Those poor children! What the fuck?
Yeah, that's its own horror story right there.
Oh my god, those kids are never the same. Da, 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 da. Yeah, just looking
Okay.
at like all. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so I'm looking at the script now to make sure I got it, because
Mm.
during their little breakup conversation, as it were, uh, because he brings up the judging book by its cover, and she's like, "All right, let's look at the contents. Then you destroyed Metro Man, took over the city, and then you actually got me to care about you. Why are you so evil, tricking me? What could you possibly hope to gain?" And that's one of those like, oof, because he
Yeah.
is probably thinking to himself like, I like guess I did trick you, but I didn't really mean to, you know,
Mhm.
like I wanted this to be a thing,
Yeah.
not it like I guess you could argue for personal gain, but not like solely personal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He didn't mean to trick, but he realized that that's exactly what he's doing the whole time, and it
Hmm.
is a evil thing to do. He was
Right.
still being a villain, even though he thought he was doing good.
Yeah. And that plays in nicely too, like you said, him reverting back. But it is an interesting thing to think about that like if he and I would need to rewatch it to get like a firm sense of this, but if he was just himself, like not Bernard, like not pretending to be Bernard. Let me try again. Like he looks
Mhm.
like Bernard, right? But if he's just acting like himself and not, putting on a facade, like he kind of is, like
Right.
that's less deceptive, right? Because you are just being yourself at that point.
Right. You just don't want to mention your past.
Yeah, like you're not putting on a character.
Hmm.
You're just not being honest, which is still bad. Don't get me wrong, but I just want to. Those are my thoughts. Because I kind of thought maybe he would mention that, like, no, no, like the things I said, like they were real.
The problem is though, is that like we've established he's not very. He's too is not like the greatest with interacting with normal people. So he
Oh yeah,
doesn't really know what to say in a situation.
and I think that's totally fair. He
Mm.
definitely gets. He doesn't say anything else in the conversation.
No, he says
Like
no. He says
he
no, and
just
that's it.
right. So yeah, it makes sense that he's stun locked here.
Hmm.
It's all good. Those are just my thoughts. I like
Hmm.
I like this whole sequence. Even though it's like, to chase her down in the rain in the dark to like,
Mm.
you know, argue for why. It's like I like it. It's good
And
stuff.
what's an important thing we need to point out right now is she turns back as he walks away.
Yes.
Yeah, that's important. That's important for later.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so he decides, fuck it, I'm just going back to be a villain now. Um, and then he's like, "Where's the one called Titan?" And by the way, I found out why what happened. An early version of the script has a reporter asking how to spell Titan, but says Megamind never taught him the correct spelling. Hal misspells it as Titan, Tighten. That's why he spells it Titanville, because he assumes it's that Titan instead of Titan. I think that's the reasoning for that whole thing.
Okay.
Um, yeah. But anyways,
Yeah,
sorry.
that makes sense. No, no, no,
Sidebar
all
over.
good.
Yeah.
I'm just sorting that in my head.
Mm,
Yeah, makes sense.
so with all that out of the way, he's in this giant mech suit, and he's like, "Yes, all right, I'm ready. Let's go, Titan. Let's have a fight. Let's do it. Let's go for it." And the entire day, Titan stands him up, like full on, like just is not like is refusing to come out. So Megamind goes to his house and finds he has just stolen everything. He has stolen money. He's stolen an arcade cabinet. He stole some bikes. Just constantly stealing things.
Hmm.
Let me go to the script here.
And he's just playing a video game the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when he shows up too, which is worth a mention.
Mm-hmm. Um, I guess this we could talk about now. The Reddit post.
Okay.
Um,
Did you send me a Reddit post?
I can send you the Reddit post. It's a couple paragraphs long, so we can't read the
Oh,
whole thing.
you don't need to. You said
Yeah.
the Reddit post as if I had prior knowledge.
I meant the one about how Stewart becoming evil is not because of being rejected.
Oh. Of course, of course. All
Um,
right. Yep, let's do it.
so what this scene is saying is that let's see. While he does get rejected by Roxanne, he does turn evil. People like to add on he's an obsessive nice guy who gets all bitchy and couldn't take no for an answer, and that's why he's evil. While Megamind is different because when Roxanne rejected him, he accepted it. This is not what happened. While getting rejected technically turned him villain, it was really more the other way around. Hal only bothered with the hero gig because he thought it would impress Roxanne. So in a world where Roxanne never exists, he would have still used his powers for personal gain as he doesn't see the value in heroics. This kind of true.
I would probably make a similar argument.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a situation more of like he spent this entire time trying to get Roxanne. Like his entire life, he's like since he's been a film whatever, he's been trying to get with Roxanne. And now that he thinks he has everything he needs to get Roxanne, he thinks he has everything that he personally wants to get to make him happy, he realizes that it was for nothing. Which I guess is kind of a counterbalance to Megamind, where his whole thing is he got what he wanted, but now it's unfulfilling. Titan got what he wanted and it rejected him. You know? It's like
Yeah.
another angle that this could be taken of I'm blanking on the word again. What did you say earlier?
Oh, like the purpose?
Yeah. Like now once again Titan no longer wants to be a hero because it's the right thing to do. It's because he like got rejected. I think it's disingenuous saying that it's that's not the reason, but I think it's fair to say it's not the only reason, you know?
Yeah, I wouldn't argue it's the only reason, but I do think like yeah, if it had worked out, um and he like really cared about keeping Roxanne, we fast forward like a couple months into a relationship,
Mm.
like she's probably encouraging him to go and do hero stuff. And
Right.
he's probably like, ugh, fine.
Right.
So yeah, that heroic attitude, like the willingness to, you know, put in the work, I guess, to help people. I think the film would argue that like that's not something everyone has.
And what's interesting to me, um, to like for Hal at least and Titan and whatnot, like that my brain is functioning slowly. Um, like the moment that he realizes that it's easier to be a villain than it is to be a hero, he chooses the easier path. And I guess there's also another side thing is that we've seen his character so far. We know he's kind of a nice guy sigma male, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't know what the fuck they're called anymore. Um and like he just wanted these powers to then fulfill his dreams. And even in this moment where he's talking to Megamind, he has this like drawing of being like, yeah, we can work together. Why don't we just work together? I'll be super cool and awesome, and you do whatever you do with your brain stuff. I don't know what you do. Once again, showing that in a relationship with him, it's all about him rather than both parties.
Yeah, he's
Mm.
very much just looking for his own like satisfaction.
Egotistical, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas Metro Man, like, uh, if people say that well, hmm, I don't know how much I want to dive into this right away, but it
Mm-hmm.
seems like he really enjoys like helping people.
Megamind, you mean?
No,
Oh, Metro Man.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, yeah. I was
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
say
Um,
the only thing like
at least for a while, you
mhm.
know.
I was gonna say the other thing that someone pointed out to me is that during this film, Megamind only ever does things in like abandoned buildings. he never ever ever does something that would actively harm civilians,
Right.
which I think is very interesting. Like he still has like a weird moral compass where like he'll never take a human life, but he'll be more than happy to like kidnap somebody.
Right. Or destroy property instead.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm. Unlike Titan, who we'll see in a minute, is more than willing to do that.
Yeah.
Um, I guess in the end, it all. I think the top comment is very important to this. Um, it's it's all about exactly where his heart was the whole time. When he got the power, the get what he wanted. Oh Jesus, this is poorly written. I'm just gonna, we're just gonna read the top part. It's all about exactly where his heart was. He
Yeah.
thought, yeah, I think that's completely right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So go ahead.
Something uh well, actually no, go ahead because I might move us accidentally. So go
No,
ahead.
I was
What
about
were
to
you
move
gonna
on.
say?
I was about to move too.
Okay. Well, in that case, um, something that I appreciate more now, especially about this, is there's definitely a thing, and I would just blame it on bad writing in superhero content where
Mm,
our heroes are negligent, and I don't think it's intentional, most of the time at least. But I think like Doctor Strange in his new movie, and like Batwoman, especially when that was going on, are like the biggest defenders of it. Oh, and of course Zack Snyder, Man of Steel, where our heroes who are supposed to, they're not bad people and they're not dumb, or at least they're not supposed to be, are being super negligent. They're destroying stuff left and right. They're like not like with Superman especially, he's not luring Zod out away from the city. Um like just blatantly putting other lives in danger when they don't need to be.
mm-hmm.
And that's sort of the same vibe I get from this guy. Even when he's on like the hero training montage, I think he's like throwing like cars and stuff.
His
Like
first thing he
just
does is cause like a traffic jam. Like
yeah, just
he literally breaks a car with two people still inside the car.
hmm
Like it's very clear he has no intention to worry about the folks of other folks, which was again
right.
just kind of points out the fact that like he's very self-centered.
Well, that's the thing. It's done really well here because
Mm.
we're not supposed to think he cares about those things, but I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to think Superman cares about those.
Right.
Excuse me, cares about those things. And
Correct.
you can do the thing where you've got like Monsters versus Alien kind of does this from what I remember. She's like big and she's not really like used to being big, so she'll like accidentally like step on a building or step on a car or like break parts off a building or something, and then she's like, "Oh shit, my bad," you know. And it's like you can do that, and that's a good way to of people coming into their powers and adapting and working with them. But that's just not the vibe I get from Zack Snyder Superman.
No, and the whole like Batman v Superman with with the thing of like, oh, it's actually see Batman saw this too and he pointed this out and that's why this is happening now. It's like, okay, you're just shut up.
You're right, but I think everyone in the world should be feeling the same way.
Mm-mm.
And
Um,
then in Batman v Superman, they take time to be like, "Oh, Superman and Doomsday landed on whatever island. It's uninhabited." It's like, "Ah, did we learn a lesson, Zach?"
well, isn't there like a thing like that in New York? That's a whole other can of worms. We're not gonna get into that because it's not in New York anyways. It's
Well,
yeah.
yeah, well, the fact that they're saying it out loud, it's like, "Oh yeah, you really felt the need to point that out, didn't you? I wonder why
There's
that is."
it's so weird because there's a whole moment in movie film like superhero film his like moments where that was a big thing they were doing where like we need to evacuate everyone out of the town and then there was like oh we need to make sure no one's inside this building and it felt to me like either they were trying to fix that mistake and be like we don't want that criticism
hmm
or they were doing it because it's cheaper to not have people inside and they could just have the stunt people in instead of having a full crew of
Right.
extras.
Well, it's
So
just it is your intentions. So like,
right.
I don't think Age of Ultron's a very good movie, but it does really well when the Hulk goes, batshit, and like Tony's just he's not trying to kill him. He's just trying to neutralize him. And so
Yeah,
he like runs him into the building after making sure that it's totally safe, or like
yeah,
not totally safe, but there's not people in it. And he's like always trying to get people away. And then in the first Avengers movie, like a big focus of Steve's is like, okay, this is where the aliens are. We gotta evacuate all the people from this area first,
yeah.
and then like we'll work from there. It's just I like all these things a lot, and it shows competence in my heroes, and I think people that's something I think you should care about. Your
Correct.
superheroes should be competent and like worry about the little guys.
Absolutely. I mean, that's like legitimately the whole like idea of superheroes. It's weird because like DC's. This is a whole other tangent. But let's just do this real quick. DC's whole superhero catalog is all like magical beings or like gods or whatever who just don't care about that sort of thing. But then Marvel's is all like, oh, I'm just a normal person with this power. I better be concerned about normal people too because I wouldn't fucking want. I certainly wouldn't want while I'm trying to eat dinner with my wife a giant green man to burst through the wall. That'd be
Exactly.
pretty cool.
Yeah. And yeah, like I said, they've gotten a lot worse about it, but it's a big deal in Civil War when Wanda accidentally like, you know, throws a
Blows
guy right next
in.
to a building and it kills
Yep.
like 12 people or whatever. Which 12
Oh,
people, realistically, like that doesn't sound that bad, especially compared to the stuff they have to deal with, but
they
it's
did
a big deal
that.
to them.
They
So
did that in the boys too. Remember how like uh he over or Homelander went to like an entirely like different country, did a laser beam to kill someone, and accidentally killed a child, and that was
oh yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like
good, like as it should be.
yeah, fuck you, Homelander.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Old milk drinking ass.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to the film. Back to the film.
Okay.
Because we're almost done. We're actually almost done.
Yeah, we're doing good.
We're there. Yeah, we've talked about this movie longer than the movie's runtime.
Ah, according to
As
film Twitter, that means we're bad.
yeah, it's true. It's true.
It's fair. It's not scripted, and it is what it is.
Yeah. Also, I saw that Multiverse of Madness film. Listen, I could watch an 8-hour video talking about iCarly. I don't need to watch 5 hours to know that Multiverse is bad. I don't
he
need to watch
uh
a nearly 6-hour movie.
he tears that thing apart. I
Oh,
just
that sounds
I listen
tempting. Oh
I listened to it. I just like listened to it on my way to work. Like
yeah,
yeah, like over multiple sessions for sure. Yeah.
that's I listened to the iCarly one while playing Splatoon, just like as background noise.
Yeah, there you go.
Because
Quentin did the
Splatoon's
iCarly one, right?
yeah. Shout out to Quentin.
Yeah, I
Um,
like Quentin's newer stuff. I like his long form content. His Star Wars takes are a little weird.
everyone has weird takes about Star Wars.
That's true.
Um, but yeah, so back to Megamind. Um, basically Megamind just reveals to Titan that hey, by the way, I've been dating Roxanne Ritchie, and I was also Space Dad, and like just trying to goat him basically. What he
Right.
forgets is by goating him like that, he's pissing Hal off. Not the he's they don't have a friendly rivalry. He just wants him dead.
Yeah.
And it's very
And I
clearly yeah, go ahead.
there's even a line for that, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember when it happens, either like partway through the fight or now, but he's like, "Oh yeah, you'll get me and send me to prison, right?" And he's like, "No, you're dead." It's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
He's
oh."
he's like, wait, this is how you're supposed to play the game. And
Right.
like, yeah. And it's very funny because Megamind is still playing this like almost like a child is like playing with the older adult. Like they're like he's like running around like hee, you can't get me. I'm the thrill and the excitement of just like running around like that. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Same way
Hal
we
is
play like a video game together.
yeah, and Hal is yeah. It's like when I play Smash with friends and they're having a
Oh yeah,
good time, and I'm
it's
here
like
going
when you
like
play
I am.
Smash with me and I'm just constantly aware that I'm fighting what's basically a god, compared to me at least.
Yeah, but you don't have fun while doing it.
Hey,
Megamind's
that's not
having
always
fun.
true.
True. Fair enough. Fair enough.
I was gonna say, those couple times I beat you, I'm like, ah, hell yeah. This is it right here. It's the big payoff. It's
Mhm, mhm.
for
Uh,
me. playing Smash with Cole is like playing Dark Souls. Like it doesn't feel fair, but it's
Just have
fine.
the
It's what it
have
is.
ha da 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 da. I think it was close, right? Was that kind of the song?
It's good enough.
It was good enough. We'll
It's good enough for
copyright
me to
cl-
know what you were talking about. So
Yeah. Um. But yeah. Sorry. This one's for Space Dad making a fool out of me, and this one's for Stepmom. You lied to her.
yeah, that's funny. So, but most of the jokes in this, I like, smirk at or giggle a little bit. That one stopped me. I was like, wait.
Because what's weird, it's true in two ways. Because yeah, he did lie to Minion about the whole like Roxanne Ritchie thing.
Yeah,
So he's kind of right, but it's also because he still thinks Space Stepmom is a real person.
which is, yeah, it's I not want to say trope, but we've seen it before where it's like, part of the illusion has gone away, but you still believe the other parts of it. And it's like, no, wait, that it was all fake, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
I don't even
like
think he addresses it, but
no, it's not important, which is really funny.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so he basically Megamind basically dips out of there quick. Oh no, he drops a copper bull as like a failsafe. Be like, yep,
Oh,
this is copper.
yeah. Um, yeah, just like because the fight is like, he's having fun and he's enjoying it for a while, and then it goes really south, and he's like needs to use all his ultimates, right, to get out of there really quickly.
I
And
got that
yeah,
league reference.
yeah, well, hey, tons of games have alties. Come on now, but he eventually, yeah, calls in the copper ball that just lands on him, right? And he's like, oh, yep, copper ball, it's your weakness. I know this because I fought the guy who has your powers, and it's all good. I got you now. I'm safe.
And
And
then
it doesn't.
boom.
It don't work.
Nope. Eventually, Megamind like escapes under like the subway system. Like he hides into like a subway, and uh, the mayor of the town's like, "We're saved." And he's like, "Oh, I wouldn't say you're free. You're under new management." Which is a
Yes.
fantastic meme. We should point that
Yeah.
out too. This movie has some quality memes that came from it.
Mm-hmm.
They're all very good. Um,
Yeah, I like the new under new management one a lot.
yeah. Uh, so he goes back to Roxanne's place. And it's like, hey, listen, I need your help. Um, and they go to try to find Metro Man's like lair.
Yeah.
You want to take this part?
Oh, well, I was just gonna point out she is like verifiably a good person, as we know, and
Mm.
she doesn't really want to work with him because the manipulation and whatnot, but she's like, fine, we'll do it if we gotta. So let's see. Um, I want to make sure because I feel like there was a line here that I really needed. Oh, they talk about how the copper doesn't work, and that doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, "You knew Metro Man best. Did he have a hideout, a cave, a solitary fortress of some kind?" And I'm like, "Ah, yes, of course, superhero things. A cave,
Yeah.
like the Bat Cave. Love it." Um,
They also bring up the "Did you ever look back?" line. Um.
yeah. One thing I don't like about this movie,
Mhm.
we knew it was coming, right? He, she says, "Can't you remove his powers with the gun? The diffuser."
Mm.
And he's like, "No, I lost it. I lost it when I misplaced the invisible car the night that you dumped me." And it's like it makes sense because he like
Mm.
drove up, got out, talked to her, got dumped. It's just
It feels contrived.
I I wouldn't expect him to forget the car.
The other thing too, and I guess this is nitpicky, but he's a super smart genius scientist. He can Why can he not just go back and make the gun again? Just saying. You just remake the gun.
Yeah, because it seems like the part that would be hard is the power to inject somebody with the superpowers, because like that's something that he needed DNA for. But the extracting, that seems like that should be easier, right?
Yeah.
And God, I knew if I didn't say it immediately, it would leave my head, and here we are.
Oh
Uh,
no.
ah,
Do,
damn.
do you want to restart the podcast so you can start from the beginning?
Oh yeah. All right, take one over. Let's try again.
I'll press the reset button. Although
Welcome to Two Broken Thumbs.
I'll press the
I am
reset button.
upset.
Although I don't think it the science works out on it. Oh, do
Hey,
you get it? Do you get it?
nice,
Do you get
nice
it?
reference there. I
Thanks,
liked it.
thanks,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I know you had feelings. No? Alright. Oh, okay, there we
No, I was laughing. I was just laughing too hard that it didn't catch on the mic.
go. Discord didn't realize that you were making human noises.
Yeah, legitimately. Yeah, so they find the old schoolhouse and they go underground. And like the way they find out Megamind's still alive is so fucking focused. Or fucking hilarious. Or like, oh, the glass with ice cubes in it. And Megamind is full. It's like, yeah, no duh, it has ice in
Yeah,
it.
that's what happens when you get water cold. Ice
Yeah.
happens.
And she obviously points out, like, wait, who put this? This is fresh water because this ice hasn't melted yet. So someone's been here. And then,
In the background, Markiplier comes out.
dude, the amount of times Pat and I have, but with both were like, "Hello, everybody. My name is Markiplier." Every time that Metro Man opened his mouth during that fucking movie, it was so fucking good.
I'm glad you're doing your duty
We did our best. It was such a
to the
fucking,
internet.
it was such a good bit. Oh my god. But yeah, he's still alive and he explains what happened. Which is basically he ran around at super speed to really think about things while they were having a little argument about why the sun laser isn't working yet. And I love this detail in the movie. You can see him blip out of existence and then blip behind Megamind during that scene. Did you notice that?
No, I'm going back right now.
Go back and look. I swear to God, that's real. He blips out for a moment and then appears behind, like a white thing appears behind Megamind, and then it goes away. And he comes back. Like, really pay attention. It's when, to give context, it's when Megamind and Roxanne are arguing about the laser. He's like looking.
Megamind and Minion?
Yeah, Megamind Minion. Sorry, like he looks
Okay.
really bored.
Right.
But yeah, he flips for a moment, and in that moment he like reads a bunch of books about self-help. He's like learning about. He's like takes a moment to really think about himself as a person, and eventually comes to the conclusion that he doesn't want to do this anymore. He wants to do something else with his life, and eventually he's like, I want to make music. Um, and he explains to Megamind, like, listen, I know it's hard, but good will always rise. What's the, because the line comes back again.
It's the
Um,
whenever there's evil, good rises to stop it or face it or something.
mm-hmm. Music Man was born. Uh, da, da, da. Yeah, if there's bad, good will rise up against it. It's taken me a long time to find my calling. Now it's about time you find yours. Did you see the scene, by the way?
I'm still looking.
Okay, okay. Um, I won't move past this, but the whole discussion for Metro Man is like, is it fair to the community that he did that? I think he did it incorrectly, but I think it's fair enough why he did it. You know, like he's usually in these films. I think Schaefer else points this out too. They usually make the villain the hero, and this is an interesting twist where the hero just doesn't want to do it anymore. It's not even a thing of like the villain or the hero's the bad person now. Although, yeah, technically that did happen. It's more of a situation where like the villain finally like is justified for doing his the hero is justified for trying to stop the villain. Like the villain's clearly doing bad things, but it's a very interesting take on it, you know? And
Yeah.
some of it, I've only ever seen it in like the Lego Batman movie because it's the only other example where like the Joker and Batman have a one-sided relationship sort of thing.
Right. Um, I think.
Hmm?
Oh wait, I think I just saw it. What was
Yeah,
that?
it's really hard to notice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I gotta double check something else now.
Okay. But yeah, he's basically trying to explain to Megamind that he could become good too, because he believes that there's some good in Megamind. Um, which I think is very, very genuinely sweet. Um, I guess this is also kind of funny. He he keeps getting hit by shit from Roxanne. She just keeps bashing him with a bunch of different
Uh,
instruments, and he
yeah,
isn't
she.
phased.
Yeah. Well, you know, still got his powers, so to be
Yeah.
expected. Um, yeah, I was gonna say. I think him saying or like him implying that Megamind will be the good to rise up.
Mm,
That's really nice, especially since like they've been together so long. I feel like it totally makes sense that he noticed the same thing you did, where
mm.
like Megamind is saying that he's evil and villain and everything, but he's not killing anybody or like
Right.
hurting people really, like property damage and whatnot, of course. But yeah, and yeah, that blip is cool. I like it. Glad to have noticed it now. Thanks for
Yeah.
pointing that out.
No problem.
Um,
It's so small, but I noticed it like immediately when watching it.
yeah, that's awesome.
Mm,
I'm very pleased. I do want to say, I think now we were talking about like the hero decides that he just doesn't really want to do the thing anymore.
mm.
Um, Similar thing happens in Endgame with Cap, but I think this is done
A
better
lot. Yeah. Because
because
Cap's things both like timeline wise and technically wise is very strange, right?
yeah, even if we like look past like the time, like it messes up how their time travel mechanics are meant to go when
Yeah.
he doesn't go back through because yeah, no need to get into that. Fergie has a good end game video. Um, but what I would argue is the bigger problem is that I don't think that he would, you know, give stop the fight just because
Mm.
they've beaten Thanos. And because I think that's his principles, whereas I'm sorry,
Metro
Metro
Man.
Man's principles are a little bit less clear, I guess you
Hmm.
could say.
He appreciates the adoration from everybody. He likes the attention, but
I
like,
straight up believe that he is a good person who
mm,
enjoys helping people, but you know, not forever.
yeah, obviously,
I I think Cap very much would feel the need to kind of go forever. And I would argue, um, I think he deserves a break after Endgame.
yeah,
Like I would be totally cool with him going off and living life with Peggy, but that's not I there's no way he thinks that.
yeah.
It's an
It's what we
inconsistency issue.
want, but it's not what the character deserves. You know, we want that for him, and we think he deserves it, but we don't know how he could have that. And I guess the writers didn't really know either, and they're just like, "Oh, just give it to him. It's too late."
Yeah, don't have more time to work on this.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's yeah.
At this point, Roxanne like they leave because Megamind goes to jail. Roxanne gets kidnapped, and as he's flipping through the channels, like Titan's just like, "Hey, listen, I have your girl. Come meet me, or I'm going to destroy it."
It,
Um,
her.
well, no, the building. He specifically points out the building and her, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. She goes to try to reason with him, and
Hmm.
it doesn't work. He's like, "I'm
I
over you now."
I'm running low on time, but I want to talk about that because he brings up some good points. Like they never really got to know each other, but she never took the time to know him because he's been a creep. It's not because she didn't want to, but it's just because he's an actual creep.
Well, it's
Yeah.
something, really important that humans do is like write off people who they, think are a threat to them, or, who, like this guy, like being with him more would be like, dangerous, like he's toxic, and like you're not going to be happy there. So it makes sense. Like there's people I kind of, try to avoid as well.
Right. We
But
all have people in our friend groups we try to avoid. I mean, I don't, but there are some
well,
people like that.
yeah. Well, yeah, just the people who work at the same place as you who you're like, yeah, I'm not really a big fan of you, but like here do my job, and that's like all their relationship ever was to her.
Yeah. Oh. Oh my
Oh,
god. Um hold on. You have to see
okay.
this.
Excellent.
Here you go. You can have this for free. What time are we at in the review? Okay, perfect. I'll remember that. Oh, I'll remember that. All right. There you go.
Oh
There's
yes,
Will Ferrell dressed as
I
Megamind.
I saw this image on the
Yeah.
internet. Yeah.
Well, now you have context for it.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, this is like the first time they've interacted socially, and it's like Hal's kind of right, but he's also wrong.
Well, he's kind of, assuming it's her fault when really, like,
It's his.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah,
But hey,
so
uh, motivations seem to be somewhat understandable for them to be convincing, so
mm.
I'm here for it.
So then Megamind breaks out of prison again with the help of Minion. Um, they go and then like the big finale happens. Da, 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 da. Do we want to talk about the line? Do we want to talk about the funny line?
Um, is it the one that's related to a current event
Yeah.
from, say, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only
The
reason
line
we're
that
talking
has,
about this movie.
if you say so. There's a line in this movie that has aged poorly.
Yep.
Um, uh, you wanna read the quote out?
I'm gonna read the full thing.
All right.
There's still good in you, Hal. You're so naive, Roxy. You see the good in everybody, even when it's not there. You're living a fantasy. There is no Easter Bunny. There is no Tooth Fairy. And there is no Queen of England. This is the
Yep.
real world, and you need to wake up. And if I haven't never heard someone being projecting before, this is it. This is him projecting as hard as he can. Like
Yeah.
legitimately going like everything sucks for me, so it must suck for everyone else too.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah. Um, and we have like the big villain brawl out. Um,
Yeah.
uh, go for
Big
it.
eccentric entrance by Megamind. You've seen it.
Mhm. The
If not,
the ending is
there's
kind of
there's
like
good old clips.
yeah, the ending's kind of like everything's kind of build up to it, and I think it's a fine build up for like the ending because I think the ending's kind of okay. Like the end fight is kind of exciting, but it really boils down to just oh, he threw a giant tower at them. They have to run now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Megamind gets hurt and literally stabbed by the tip of the tower.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh no,
No, not
he's
Megamind.
he's been stabbed. This isn't getting stabbed's not good for you. No,
No, oh no, not stabbed.
we hate that.
Oh no, our chest, it's broken.
Yeah, exactly.
And then suddenly, as soon as he's about to kill Roxanne, Megamind appears, slicing the bus in half. Or not
You mean
Megamind,
Metro
fuck.
Man?
I mean, I'm technically correct, but Metro Man appears and
Fair enough.
slides the bus in half. And and, and Hal is shitting his pants.
Yeah, pretty much. Rightfully so too.
Yeah, he realizes what's happening. Uh, and like Roxanne at this time realizes that Minion was the one who is pretending to be Megamind at that moment. Um, and now instead of Minion being there, or instead of we realize words are hard. Instead of it being Metro Man, it's Megamind who's flying around currently.
Hmm.
Um, and he basically threatens Titan saying, "Leave, don't ever return, get out of here. I never want to see you again." And I think he
Get
specifically
out of
says,
Metrocity.
"Yeah, Titan, you'll stay out of Metrocity for good." And everyone starts cheering. They're all excited. They all go in for a hug, and she basically turns off the watch to reveal to the entire crowd that it was Megamind who saved them all. Which is something that like DreamWorks does super well with the whole like not being wanted by society thing, where there's always one character who like clearly shows um that like they want something more out of life, but society won't let them have it. And there's always a character, usually the love interest, who's just like, no, you can't have these nice things. And
Yeah.
it's a nice thing that they're really good at doing, especially in the early 2000s.
Yeah, I
I
think so.
wouldn't. I don't know if they do that in How to Train Your Dragon because I haven't seen it in forever, so I don't really know. But it's still one of those things I just really like.
That's a good message, you know.
Yeah, it's absolutely important to let people know, hey, you can go out there and do the things you want. Don't care what society says unless you're like gonna
Well,
go do crime
maybe a
stuff.
little,
Yeah,
but
don't
prove
do
them wrong,
crimes.
you know.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Show your mom what for. Tell show that pulley what happens. I'm not gonna finish that. Uh, but then Titan comes back because he
yeah,
realizes he only knows one person who calls this place Metrocity, and they have a whole uh they have a whole fight again. And I think at this point she realizes the invisible car is there, and then brings back the whole "Remember the night I dumped you? I did look back, and you should look back too." They get the gun. Uh,
I'm sorry.
yeah. That is something.
Here comes the nitpick.
Oh yeah, with the car, go for it.
Yeah, so the invisible car. It's invisible because when you look at it, you see the things that are behind it, but you don't see it. We agree, right?
Hmm.
Now, the inside of the car is not invisible. So like if you're inside the car, right, you're not gonna you see the seats and like the steering wheel and the dashboard and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that all follows. He gets into the car to grabs the gun and then wow, blanking. Okay, Titan comes in and like punches through the door and rips it right off the hinges. And the cool little thing that happens here is he's got like the car in one hand, the door in his other hand, and he can't see Megamind. That's because Megamind's on the other side of the door, but its invisibility is still functioning. issue with that is he should be able to see him because he's not hiding. He's hiding behind the door, but you can see through the door. It's transparent. So neat little moment, but they messed it up. Messed
Yeah,
it up, Cole.
but it's really funny because then he presses the lock button on the door.
Right. Well,
So,
it stops working right after, like,
yeah,
after a couple seconds, and then yeah, he presses the lock, which is pretty funny.
I think it's very good. I think it's very funny.
Mhm. I like
Um,
the lock a lot, but
mm,
yeah, that is something I thought because he's just holding up this invisible door, but yeah, you should be able to see him.
mm.
But alas, then what happens?
Um, he throws him in the sky after that, and he's still holding the gun and everything. As he's falling to his death, he kind of has like a realization moment. He's like, "Oh, I'm about to fall into some water." So he
This is also where
based
the movie started, by the way.
yeah, this is back when the movie started. He's like,
Yeah,
"Oh
just thanks
wait,
for watching.
I can't die here." Um, yeah, he basically turns himself into water and falls faster because of it. Uh, he's Titan's about to kill Roxy, and he appears from the pool of water with the gun as it falls into his hands, shoves it up his nose, and removes all the powers.
Yeah.
And it's a very sweet moment at the end because she says, "You did it, you won." And he's like, "Well, yeah. Now I had a reason to win." And
Yeah.
very true. It's a very sweet
Oh,
end.
it hits right on theme with the having a purpose or finding
Mm,
a purpose.
yeah.
And
Oh
they
yeah.
hug, and the people are all like, "Yay, we don't actually hate you."
Well, and then he immediately puts a gun out on everyone to try to shoot them.
Oh yeah, 'cause they all are like running in, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, stay back!"
Stand back, you heathens!
Yeah,
And I think the line, oh, what is it? The line's so good.
it's
Sorry,
like,
sorry, he's just not used to positive feedback.
yeah,
It's so good. The movie ends with like a little dance number and a little like cameo and everything, and the movie's cute. I'm gonna say this to wrap things up. It's weird when I watched this movie, I didn't think much of it, but now that we're talking about it, I'm realizing how smart it is. But I feel like if I'm gonna go back to rewatch it, I'm not gonna remember any of this stuff, right?
which stuff?
Like all of the deeper stuff, like especially about how or about how Megamind like doesn't do all the destruction. Like I didn't think about all those things when I first watched it. But as I'm like talking about the film, I start noticing these little details about how much better it was. Like when I watched it, I was like, "Oh yeah, it's still pretty good. It's still pretty good." But like as I sit here thinking about it more, I'm like, "Oh, there's a lot more shit to it than I originally thought."
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well, it's not. It's one of those nice ones where it's like you can enjoy it on a really surface level, or you can
Mm.
like, you know, focus in hard, and you're rewarded either way.
And I think I want to work back to what I said at the start of this review of would I consider this one of the three best superhero movies? And after thinking about it like this in this weird light, I think I feel comfortable saying it's there. I think it's like third. I think it's still third out of the three, but I definitely feel like it's up there, you know?
Hmm.
Incredibles is obviously at top. I just don't know what my second one is currently. I don't really know, but it's definitely not the second. Oh, it's Logan. Duh, it's Logan. It's yeah, duh, Logan.
Oh, Logan. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah, it's
absolutely
a good
Logan.
one.
Mm-hmm.
I like to simp for Civil War, but that's got issues.
Mm-hmm. Logan just perfect
Logan
wrap to,
slaps.
and they would never bring Hugh Jackman back after Logan to like ruin the importance of
God, I
that
freaking
movie.
hope not. That would be
Oh,
so frustrating.
do you not know?
There, no, I'm in on
Oh,
the meme. Don't worry.
oh, okay, cool. Okay, as long as you're aware.
I,
I was like, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, James.
I, yeah, I'm aware. I was, um, oh God, I was watching a couple YouTube shorts because I must have been bored out of my mind, with my brain off, and I stumbled upon one where it's Robert Downey Jr. talking to Joe Rogan. Yeah, say what you will, but they were he was talking about Endgame and Tony's death, and Joe's like, "You ever think about coming back?" And right away, Robert's like, "Oh, I don't know, like if I show back up, like doesn't that kind of won't you be a little disappointed right away? Like, doesn't it kind of take away the punch a little bit?"
Mhm.
And Joe says like, "Oh, I don't know, man. Like you give it a few lackluster years, and then you show up, man. People just lose their mind." And he kind of gives, and he's like, "Yeah, you're right. They would." And I'm like, "No, no, no, no. Fight this. Come on."
I don't know. You can only do so much fighting on Joe Rogan before he wants to
We
fight
just,
you.
yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't watch it, but I was like, "Come on, man. You know better than this. Come on. Just stop.
But
Just stop with the."
the problem is, he's right. That's the worst part.
Uh,
He's totally right with that statement. People will go crazy. Marvel fans
uh,
cheer at everything.
it would mad generate money.
Oh yeah, but they would
Uh,
obviously like parade. Sorry, totally different tangent. We could talk about when we talk about Marvel movies.
oh yeah.
I feel like that's a good movie. Do you think it's
I
like top three? Would you put a top three?
I'm still hesitant. I would want to think about it more, but it's
Mm.
definitely up there.
I'm comparing this to like when we went to go see Slender Man, where we went to the movie, we saw it, we didn't really think much of it, but then the more we thought about it, like the reverse of it happened, where the more we thought about this movie, the better it got. The more we thought about Slender Man, the worse it got.
Hmm.
It's like one
And
of those.
there's more stuff. I should have been taking notes while I was watching it because
Mm,
there's other stuff I know I thought about that I didn't mention. There's uh correct me if I'm wrong.
mm,
So Titan gets all of Metro Man's powers,
mm.
and one of the powers Titan uses constantly almost is his laser vision.
Right.
And Metro Man, from what I remember, uses it like once, and it's
Yeah.
like to cut the ribbon at the museum. And
Yeah.
I think that's really indicative of like the character work they're trying to do, because he doesn't want to do that damage. He doesn't want to like kill anyone.
He's in control.
Yeah.
Another thing too, which is really important to point out, is how they both fly. Where like Metro Man has like a clear like Superman pose, while like Titan kind of throws himself. Like he isn't really assuming a position or anything. He just kind of does the position, like doesn't do a position, but he kind of just throws himself around.
Yeah.
It's very disorienting and like weird when he.
Unhinged almost.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah. Yeah, little things like that. I think they're
Mm.
all those little details. It's like, they they're like the little icing on top, They're really nice to see.
Yeah, and
Shows
it's
good content.
unfortunate. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It just didn't make any money. Like this movie was so good at the time, but because people were like, "Oh, it's just Despicable Me," but again, how could they? It's like it's much more than that. I feel like you get more content out of this than you would have Despicable Me. Like, yeah, Despicable Me is good, but ugh.
Yeah. Two things. One, I think Schaefer mentions this in his video, which made me happy because I thought I was the only one. He's like, yeah, people I think confuse this with Monsters versus Aliens because the villain, Megamind and the villain are both like big-headed blue aliens. And I was like, yeah, I did kind of like maybe not necessarily mix them up, but I definitely drew a line between them when I was little. I remember. And
Mm.
then the other thing, God damn it, it was the way more substantive thing too. Oh no, I remember now. Do you know the game Titanfall 2?
Yes.
Okay, it's great, right?
I've played it once and it was pretty fun. I got steamrolled, but it's still fun. I could see the appeal.
I'm a really big fan of it. I don't think its
Mm.
multiplayer scene's any good now because I think there's like hacker issues, but it
Mm.
has like one of the best campaigns for a shooter ever,
Mm.
I would argue, and possibly the best level in a shooter campaign ever. But alas, that game released I think 2 weeks after a Battlefield release and 2 weeks before a Call of Duty release. which those are like the first person shooter titans.
Yeah.
And it similar to this, I think. It's just kind of released at a bad time where there's, Despicable Me, which hits similar beats,
Mm.
and there's Monsters vs Aliens, which looks similar.
Yeah, but that just happens though. Sometimes that will happen with movies and media. Like I hate to be this guy, but I think Everything Everywhere kind of suffered the same fate. Even though it did great in theaters, it would have done better if Multiverse hadn't come out around the same time because both deal with time travel, and people are gonna just assume that they're gonna do the same thing. Like it's
Yeah,
one of those unfortunate just situations.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah, but overall, James, what did you think of the movie? What would you rate this movie?
Um,
Mm-hmm.
hmm. uh, hmm. What would I rate this movie? God, do I have anything fun and creative?
I do. I can go first if you want.
Oh yeah, why don't you go first?
I rate this movie a glass of water with 2 ice in it because it's refreshing, it's clean, and it's better than I think.
I think it's important to mention our glass of water here. I want to adopt your rating. This glass of water comes after walking through a small desert.
Yes, it
It is
literally is.
it is very refreshing indeed.
Are you taking that review? Or are you just saying it's a glass of
Yeah,
water in
yeah.
the desert? Okay.
I'm using yours and contributing to it. Yeah, I'm calling
You
it
know
my
what?
own.
That's
I'm
good. That's
straight
good.
up plagiarizing. Except I'm
That's good.
acknowledging you, so it's not plagiarizing.
Oh,
It's just
okay.
taking. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am morally safe.
These fucking trivia things are so stupid.
Oh, I want to contribute more.
Okay.
In the movie, the glass of water, it's
Mm.
like it's got condensation on it and it looks really good.
Yeah. The water effects.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's true there. There's all the it's like the little details that really help it out.
Oh, there you go.
Same
There you go.
thing. Yeah, there you go. There's another connection for you. Damn, we did great with this one. I'm
We
proud
did
of us.
fantastic.
And
That's
by
a good
us, I
one.
mean you.
Thanks. By the way, the trivia for this is so fucking weak. Both Megamind and Metro Man are the last members of their species, just like how
Oh.
Superman is the last son of Krypton. Did you know that? Did you
Whoa.
know that?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, hold on. Before Megamind goes to Hal Stewart's apartment, he passes a speed limit sign that says 69.
Ah, that's great. I didn't know that.
That's really funny. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Remember, Twitch streaming Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays as well. So feel free to hop on in, join me for some smashing and stuff. And James, do you have anything you want to plug?
Nope.
Okay, great. Well, have a great night,
I
everybody.
might learn how to edit and make a video one day, but
Ooh, you hire Pat.
I could just hire Pat. That's true.
You
Yeah.
could just hire Pat.
I don't know. I would
Feel
but
bad.
we'll see. I would really want to be a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about doing like a parody of those like top 10 moments of like Mandalorian or something like that. I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking about doing something similar to that,
Like a
but
Watch
call it
Mojo.
yeah, and just calling it like top 10 least bad moments or something, and
Least
like
bad.
and being like really passive aggressive the whole time. Like there's a billion examples of this, and I'm going to think of none of them. It's like in The Last Jedi when they hyperspace through the other ships. I would
Yep.
point at something like that, and I'd be like, "It was so cool." You might be thinking to yourself about how much this ruins the stakes for space combat, because surely you could just strap hyperdrive engines to asteroids, and that's how any battle would go from now on. But shut the fuck up. We're not talking about that. Look at how cool this shit is.
It's such a
Don't you
cool
love it?
shot. Look at the fur
Yeah, look at
glow.
this. Did you hear? Yeah,
Look
the
at the
fur
fur
glow.
glow.
Just like zoom in on it a bunch, maybe spin the image around a few times, be like, and listen to the sound it makes.
Pew.
Mm.
It'll be a very funny video. All
I
right.
think so. I think
All
we could
right.
have fun. Anyway.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.